Van as well, or the AD carry going up to match this Rumble, hasn't actually needed anything positive so far.
Oh, they're not done. QT Dig looking to ride the aggression here and try and take as much away from 665 as they can. He will not have got a single one of his buffs to start this game off. Wow, that is very bold, and Hedl, unfortunately, is the one paying the price for it.
Now still level 1, still marking his jungler. Chelsea doing much the same, going to be able to secure.
Not a single point of experience so far for Hedl.
At least a death. He has contributed.
He was there.
And he's done a good job of slowing down 665. Unfortunately, I think, didn't need to die that early on. Could have just allowed 665 to finish off those Raptors after delaying him for so long, but unfortunately, staying a little bit too long did cost him.
Yeah. You look at the state of the map elsewhere. There has been a lot of focus in that jungle, and double crabs as well for Van. So he really is getting everything in what and more, if not for that kill. Oh. Do we see both junglers only secure their opponent's buffs?
Very well, could be.
Smite's there for 665.
No smite. Yeah, 665 has the smite, looking first to do a bit of damage, won't be able to get the kill, but does pick up that blue buff, so an even trade on the buffs, and 665 may even get the Gromp for it as well. Looking for more.
Might get the entirety of the top side even.
Yeah, does seem like he will. Van One headed towards his bot side though, so will still be looking to pick up some XP and gold for himself from the Raptors and possibly the Krugs afterwards.
Unfortunately, things not going very, very well for Wash today, and it's about to potentially get worse.
I think he could have finished that.
Yeah, he would have got out.
No teleport available as well, so this is going to cost him if he does go down, and it does look like he most certainly will.
Oh.
Chelsea not going to connect, the flashes there. 65 going to get taunted, but he's not tanking the tower. Feng with the barrier, it might go down, he will, but it's an execute. 65 will fall as well. 2 do go down, it's 1 kill, 1 execute, but importantly, the XP is going to be picked up there by the Galio.
Oh, and just ambitious plays across the rift.
This is explosive.
Indeed, indeed it is. But I mean, you look at how much though that 1v2 has suffered for QT Dig. Washide may have got the kill, but he's down a good 17 CS in that 1v2. Where the same is far from true. And you look at it, they found early damage. The Justice Punch had been horrendous realistically either way, so just connects for a bit of damage. Yeah, I think if he'd continued, he probably just gets out there by a millisecond. I suppose he gets 2 for his troubles here, even if one of them wasn't execute.
Yeah, it does give himself a good amount of XP. It's a great flash from him. Unfortunately, Feng, thinking he could tank 1 extra tower with the barrier, does go down.
Yeah, that tower hits very hard at this stage in the game.
Yeah, well and truly ramped up.
But yeah, I mean, literally half of Florin CS at the moment on this Galio. Luckily, I mean, it's a Galio. Once you hit 6, it's kind of mission achieved. But realistically, you'd want to be in a much better state than he is.
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, that's how it goes.
Oh, this jungle is so hotly contested.
Yeah, this is the aggression originally coming out of QT Dig and Van One alongside Hedl specifically, but 665 and the rest of DCG doing a great job to navigate it and finding themselves far more so far than that of the Wukong. All the while, these two mid laners just having a pretty good time for themselves. They're essentially the only lane left to just play mid. Or play their own lane, shall I say. I
mean, Dice did collapse up onto the top side to catch the wave after Washide got dived, but unfortunately it was a little too late to really contribute anything. And while that was happening, Hongso was able to get some time on his own, get some plated for his troubles. This is literally like watching Rambo. It's just been fighting in the jungle constantly.
That's good. That's good stuff. Hook lands up on the top side. It's going to be a 2v3. Feng, very low, doesn't have the flash, but does not have barrier. Flashing forward, looking for that trade kill, but comes down with the pole bull Van, and that is going to be a kill back. 2-2 now the kill score. 1 away from picking up those feats of warfare.
Well, here comes 665, though. Does have the Cataclysm online. No Cyclone in response to the recall. This time does go through. And it's going to be a Void Grub fight.
Teleport coming in. It's going to be Hedl coming in as that Nautilus. No way to match it, of course, because Feng was the one that could go down. Spellbook on that Corky 80 carry. But teleport going to be used now for Florin, who's going to come in. Does have the equalizer available to himself.
First scrum going to be going down here to 665. Does not have the smite currently. And there you go. Quickness has been stolen for Dice as well. But all the prio up in this top side.
Yeah.
They're favouring DCG.
Yeah, Florin coming in at the teleport. It was the teleport that really tipped the scales, of course. Couldn't be answered yet from Washidai, so this is just going to mean that 4v4, which would have eventually become a 4v5 with Feng walking out of base, does allow DCG to pick up all 3 of those Void Grubs. Of course, it was the first dragon of the game picked up for QT Dig, so in terms of Monster Slayers, things are evened up. Gold, however, currently favouring the PCS squad of DCG.
Absolutely. A fairly sizable lead, but 665 and Van again going to meet around this blue buff. Heddle's here.
Heddle's there. Hex Flash being channeled. Going to find his way onto 665. Do they have the damage to take him out, though? No flag and drag for the time being. If he gets it up in time, maybe he can get himself away. He will be able to just, but still forward with the Cyclone. Not going to land himself the kill. Flashes exchange. Hongshu coming in, but can he get it out? No, he can't. It's a nice CC there from Dice. Is going to stop Hongshu in his tracks, and Realm Warp not going to come through. Blue buff will be picked up.
Unfortunately, it's Rod of Ages, Silas, so not the most damage at this stage in the game, but the interrupt is nice. Means they can secure the blue buff, back themselves off without being punished here, but there's also a crab ready and waiting in that bot side river, so that will be secured also. I mean, it was a great play up at the top side here. What a hook.
Oh,
just
beautiful.
Absolutely curving it around that one minion. Picture in picture though.
Yeah, Cataclysm coming out. There's going to be at least Van going down first. A flash forward from Dice. Finds himself in with that chain. It's another kill back. Feng's going to go down. Xiaoxi extremely low, but still being able to walk around the fight. Hongshu with the damage. One more attack would do it, but Heddle's going to limp away. That's going to be a kill as Washidai comes through. The taunt's there as well. Can Dice continue forward? Their Conqueror well and truly stacked up with the flash away from Hongshu. He's cleared the distance, and as it stands, it's a 2 for 2.
Oh, Heddle unfortunately.
Trying to hook himself out. Xiaoxi should be able to get him with that W, but there's people around. Heddle is going to go down, the flash away, the battle dance, the Q, the battle dance, the heal, and Xiaoxi will make it out.
Fancy feet, unfortunately for Flower, and the trouble has only just started for him. Well, everything was kicking off on the bottom side. He finds himself a fight, but it is a rumble. Here comes the support.
Able to flash away from that Void Seeker. Gets himself away for now. Fights everywhere on the rift, but it's DCG coming out on top.
It all started, as it so quintessentially does, over a scuttle. Trying to interrupt Van. They find the angle onto the Rakan, but suddenly, from the wings comes the Jarvan. With Feng there in support, that is a very, very dead Wukong. And it's just a staggered fight. Player after player just making their way in steadily but slowly. And picture again. Yeah, the Dragon going down. This time it's DCG that are first onto it. Van trying to find his way in, but won't be able to do so. So Dragon picked up one side of DCG. Shall see the wherewithal to realize that maybe he's in there. And gets himself out too. Is very impressive. Yeah, I don't know how he survives it. It would have been such a narrow margin.
That last Q.
Yeah.
Just giving him enough HP.
This Jarvan. Stock is on the rise, well and truly up by nearly 1,000 gold in the jungle.
Yeah, fishing off on that Sundered Sky now. Gives them a little bit more survivability in these fights as well. As it stands, looking pretty good on the Jarvan. Now, side lane for Dice should be relatively good up against the immobility of a Ryze. They have Van here as well. Chain's not going to connect as the phase rush was procced by Hongshu.
Inkling tickling in the back of his brain tells Van that there is likely a control ward in that rush, and there was indeed. Looking to clear out the next one in the try, potentially set up for something on the spot. So, but realistically, there's nothing for the next 2 minutes 20 odd, and that's going to be the Herald coming up soon. So it'll just be get that vision down, look to take some control over the map, especially with that Ocean Soul. Vision becomes a bit chaotic.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Look for a dive here. Hongshu, no flash, is going to get knocked up there. Dice extremely low, but should be able to land that kill, QT Dig, and are able to do so indeed. Xiaoxi not quite quick enough to the play, means no way that he can keep his mid laner alive. The Dice quickly turning into a win condition for the Aljao representatives.
665 all the while, taking the opportunity to go and clear out Van's jungle. Feng, yeah. Again, just spots the pixel that he needs to as Feng steps a little too far forward, and he says, okay, I know exactly what the game plan is here.
Turret plating will fall soon.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that's Corky. Triforce in hand. It's going to be dishing out quite a lot of pain despite the 1-3 scoreline.
Absolutely, that phosphorus bomb into the empowered auto attack with the Hextech munitions. I mean, we talk about the 2-item power spike for Corky, but you can't disrespect that Triforce pickup.
And Florin, an interesting fact to note that if it was DCG that were able to come out of this tournament and promote into the LCP, he would be the second player in the league from Hong Kong.
Behind Kaiwing.
Yeah. Quite different age brackets too.
Yeah. I mean, you just think about the potential coming out of this competition. And it's, well, DCG clear favourites. It's hard to say that it's a guaranteed thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
There's
look at
always
this
that
game.
potential.
This is a game that DCG were up at one point by about 1.5k gold, now evened up and extremely strong now on the silos is Dice. 1-0 and 2. But getting a lot of XP for himself, upper level on his direct lane opponent. Yuhi continuing to try and trade with Feng, but losing out each and every time.
Yeah. That Corky is a real problem.
Yeah, just different levels of power spike
that's
this
a
day.
call.
Cyclone going forward, he's 1v4 and will come the hero's entrance, but unfortunately down will go Van first of all. A great Valkyrie from Feng, getting himself out of harm's way as Hiddle will also go down. Round warp there, 2 more to add to the pile potentially. It's just out of the knockup will go Dice, but still a third kill found as DCG are getting more and more for their money. Feng still turning around a lot of damage here onto Yuhi, who's trying to get himself away, but will be able to flash away from that big rocket and just clears the distance, but still 3 kills and a bunch of sums found as DCG go roaring ahead.
Oh, you could absolutely see what the play was there from Van. Unfortunately, he just pulls the trigger a little too early. And suddenly, in screams DCG like a bloodstained hurricane, ready to rock and roll. Just an absolute bloodbath.
Will mean that the feats of strength will be finished up here by 665 as he picks up that Rift Herald. An interesting call, just no one really nearby. It's a 1v4. Sure, the Galliard's coming in, but when you're going down before it is able to actually fully channel, you're running into some big issues. Hetzel not going to be able to connect with that hook as the Valkyrie gets Feng out of harm's way, and it just goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Yuhi was half HP. Heddle wasn't much better. And then Dice was still up in that top lane, so unfortunately, just a little bit too early. I think if he holds off for maybe another 4 or 5 seconds, then the team would have been in position to collapse in and absolutely turn that. But unfortunately, not the case. Herald going to be dropped as they start this dragon up.
I think a possible accident dropping that Herald, but it will find its way to this bottom lane as 665.
Oh, it takes the long way.
This is going to be able to finish up the Herald as well. I mean, rather the dragon, eventually.
The Herald taking the scenic route to the bot lane tier 1.
Yeah, I think the minions might have been pushed to tower. Dice looking aggressively on Hongsho. Will connect on the chain, but in the meanwhile, 65 just goes strolling into the jungle. And there's so much CC. He goes down. Feng's flashing into no man's land. And the killer instinct there for you. He does confirm himself the kill as well.
So, on the back of a great fight on the top side that was all but spoon-fed to them, they then give over 2 shutdowns to Yuhi. And there's Silas and Kaiser could potentially just turn this game on a dime. And you look at that gold swing. Literally, almost a full team wipe there. But it was 3 for nothing up by the Herald pit. And then 2 kills swing that gold lead back in favor of QTD.
Yeah, and on to exactly who you'd want it to be as well. 665 just absolutely going way too aggressive here. Has no business EQing over that wall. Feng much too close to him as well. Using that flash and still going down, making things go from bad to worse very quickly as DCG now find themselves at a slight disadvantage in terms of that goal, but unfortunately for them, it's the carries that find themselves ahead here for QT Dig.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that things were going so well for Florent at the early stages of this game, and he's only still holding on to a 200 gold lead, speaks absolute volumes. Washidai has really come into his own here.
Still, QT Dig, they do have the issue of being a low-range composition against the likes of the Rise and Rumble. As this game progresses, things will get harder and harder. Heddle able to connect on that hook, but no one in the area to follow up means Florent will be able to walk away, and it's a trade of towers.
Yeah, no depth charge means there was going to be enough lockdown to keep him in position for Dice to finish that tower and then collapse on. And so, I mean, look, yeah, Florent maybe just breathing a bit of a sigh of relief. The timings were on his side. Allows the team to get that tower down on the bot side as well, which means that Hongshu can play those side lanes that much more comfortably on this rise.
Six still doing what he can to take away some of the opposing jungle.
At this stage, I'm pretty sure that Van and 665 have taken more of the other side of the jungle than their own.
Yeah, very
camps.
possibly. Quickness up and available now for Dice. He takes it away from Xiaoxi. Fing gonna have to be careful. Ignite dropped, sending a message. Gets his flashback available to himself.
The classic support, say it with your chest moment of dropping Ignite. An iconic one, but you look at it, Ultimate starting to come up and online across the board for QT Dig, plus having that quickness there for Dice means that there's going to be a little bit more of an opportunity for the hero's entrance to
Two
land.
items as well for Yuhi, meaning he is at a power spike, so it's a good time to look for a fight if they're able to do so, but there's no objective really to look for. Of course, Artican is there.
Ooh.
Hook lands. Heddle's going to find his way on a 665. Dice turning things around, has the quickness for himself, not yet able to use it. Redemption going to top him back up on HP. A 6-5 will be going down. The W landing. No, the flash there for you. He does get the kill. 4v5 now, but low health bars for QT Dig. Dice finds his way in.
Oh!
The quickness on the 4. The knock-up's there. He goes down first of all, but Yuhi is wailing in the back lines. 1, 2, 3. Can he get a fourth? Yes. It's only Fing that lives, but it's Yuhi with a quadra kill.
Oh, and that is absolutely the payout that QT Dig were looking for off the back of their aggression. All they needed, all they wanted was an opening, and as soon as that opening presented itself, they absolutely capitalized. And suddenly, for those that may have not watched the LJL, the upset is becoming a little bit easier to understand.
Absolutely. They're going to pick up this Artican, maybe even find that bottom tower if they were to choose to. Decide against it, but it's still a massive win. I mean, we'll take a look. Heddle going in, finds a good chunk of damage onto 665 alongside Dice. Realizing that not going to be able to take him down immediately. They get the quickness. Dice now able to get himself out, and they finish the deal onto 665 using Yuhi with that flash. Now, at this point, I don't think it's necessarily a done deal until Dice lands these chains, finds the 4-man charm, will go down immediately afterwards, but it buys the time for Yuhi to get there and really follow up that damage. 3-man root even for good measure.
Yeah, Washidai landing an absolutely massive taunt to set up for his bot laner. And this Kaiser is now screaming ahead, nearly 2,000 gold up, well on his way to his third item even. And that is a real problem point for DCG, who have been caught off the back foot a couple of times in a row now.
Yeah, looking like he's going towards a Runans, potentially, which I'm not certain. I'm not sold on the Kaiser build, if I'm entirely honest.
Well, I mean, if they're all clumped up, AoE damage works, I suppose. Either way, Yuhi, I think we could trust him to pile it out the rest of this game, given that he's had a phenomenal showing on the Kaiser so far. The DCG looking to set themselves up for Soul Point here. This may not be a fight they want to take, but they're looking for the collapse on Dice this time.
Yeah, Dice is all alone. The Galio coming back in. Do have the Cataclysm. The 3-man's there, but they're going to be able to get that kill first. Yuhi now. And the thick of things, but way too close. Right into melee range. Van trying to do what he can in the back line. Is able to take down Fing, but finally in comes Hongshu. That's a double kill for Florent. That's a triple kill for him now as he looks to make it a quadra. No. Xiaoxi gets that one, but unfortunately for QT Dig, it's an ace. And DCG will answer back.
Unfortunately, QT Dig fall victim to the exact same mistake they made earlier on the top side. Just a little bit too eager to pull that trigger, a little bit out of position. And as the team stumbles on it, it is too little too late by the time they get there. a very rough spot. I mean, Dice realistically could have just flashed himself over the wall to safety. But turns in, there's only 2 members into the full 5 of this roster, and they saved the Cataclysm for Yuhi on the backside.
I think that fight could have been fine if Yuhi didn't ult directly into melee range of a Rumble. Unfortunately, does, and this gets completely one-shot. While yes, he's very strong and will do a lot of damage, he's still made of paper. He's an AD carry after all. So I think, unfortunately for him, a bit of a misstep when it comes to that Killer Instincts usage. Now, aggressively looking for Chelsea, getting knocked up, and this might just be Yuhi going down again, and it will be. Kettle as well, using that hook, will land onto the wall. Chelsea's never going to miss that. Another double kill coming through for Florin.
Yeah, unfortunately, this level of aggression only takes you so far. And if you keep forcing it, chances are you're just digging yourself a deeper hole. Dice on the backside. It is a 3 versus 5. The quickness stolen. Unfortunately, you're not going to steal anything more.
Yeah, will be the 3rd dragon now. Sole point for DCG. A couple of mistakes from that AD carry on QT Dig. Leads him to be in a pretty rough position. Now Dice trying to get himself out. The quickness is going to connect there from Chelsea. As Finn goes forward, Cyclone being used. And unfortunately for Van, it is just going to mean that he goes down first of all. Does manage to pick up Finn, but...
I mean, all things considered, I'd probably take that, honestly. Going 1 for 1, realistically, probably should have got himself cleared just a little bit early, but DCG, riding off the momentum that they've garnered for themselves, absolutely capitalizing on every opportunity.
Now Florin, yeah, very, very far ahead on the Rumble. It's still a close game, but those dragons are going to make things pretty rough for QT Dig.
Once again, just a little bit too far forward. Great catch there. I shall see. Unfortunately, yeah, just the turnaround damage is kind of crazy here onto Fag, and with so many bodies in the melee, it was hard to keep track of where Van was with the clone.
Yeah, barely able to pick up that kill, but was able to do so, of course. Nuhi now maybe realizing that he's strong, but not strong to the point of running into everyone constantly.
Strong from over here, not over there.
Yeah, playing a little bit more reserved when his team's not around now.
Did Chelsea just...
Yeah, just got rid of the smite.
Yeah. The quintessential smite cannon moment. TP's coming in. Topside river, they're looking for a fight.
Yeah, trying to find Heddle there. 65 will not connect with that flag and drag, but the hook will here out of Heddle. Very low now on the Nautilus. Is going to be able to flash himself out, but unfortunately answered back as 65 uses that Cataclysm to find himself a kill. Why should I as well? Going straight in and straight out. And Chelsea claims himself one. Now Baron being started up. And a 3v5 to try and defend it for QT Dig.
Yeah, and once again, maybe a little bit of over-eagerness there for QT Dig to try and collapse in on the fight, and not giving that avenue for Yuhi to play this fight comfortably. Van goes in.
Yeah, Van goes in, finds the 2-man, is going to get rooted up by Hongshou. 1 HP now on the Wukong, but in comes Yuhi with that Killer Instinct. That's one. He gets knocked up though. 665 maybe stopping this Geyser. The flash from Hongshou secures the kill, and Dice only just won't be able to secure one for himself. And with Florin still on full HP, DCG feel confident enough to start up the Baron.
Oh, that was a nearly disastrous moment for DCG. Unfortunately, without, I think if Heddle's there, honestly, or even Washington realistically, just give Yuhi that little bit of extra space and he cleans up that fight quite easily.
Yeah, unfortunately, 665 landing that knock-up was so crucial. I think Yuhi, I mean, if he didn't get knocked up there, might have just well and truly taken over the fight. We'll get a replay of the original
because he tried to flash away from Hongshou, so... Yeah, I mean, the turnaround is too little too late because Washidai has just taken so much damage, and the equalizer and a choke point onto both Dice and Van was always going to paint a very, very bleak picture. So DCG, I mean, you look at it here.
Oh, it's so close.
Comes in, great setup. Dice comes in with a Cataclysm as well, onto 2 to stack them all up, drags Feng away. So Yuhi has flash hit. If he flashes the flag and drag, yeah, I think there's a very, very good chance that he then turns that fight around. But unfortunately, just held it a second too long.
Yeah, really could have been the difference maker. Unfortunately though, as you said, holds it for too long. DCG pick up the win of that team fight. They pick up the Baron now. And they're marching ahead. 5k is the gold lead for them, or 6k even. as they look to start breaking open some of these inner towers.
Absolutely. We are rapidly approaching that 30-minute mark. About the average from what we've seen in the LCP this year. I think it's 33 minutes and 51 seconds. They're going in.
Yeah, they found their way onto Hongsho. That's going to be a shutdown picked up by Van. Now a 4v5 on the Rift. As DCG headed south. Still maybe even looking to take this tower, and we'll be able to do so. Yuhi nowhere in the area as he's trying to secure himself the mid tower. Will be a shutdown on that objective for him.
2k lead, but without that space to play these team fights, it's somewhat irrelevant, unfortunately. And it was a great call, the claps here, onto the rise for DCG. Look at it, Van. They've got control of that vision. I think it's incredibly greedy that DCG stuck around as long as they did. Just a little bit slow reacting to the fact that suddenly there was a Wukong screaming at him. And they punished very, very well.
Definitely a good shutdown and a good time as well to pick it up during the Baron. Stops that push in its tracks, but unfortunately now have to answer what could be the Ocean Soul. And right now, not in a position to do so. No vision established whatsoever. Putting down that blue ward now are going to be aware that it's been started up. Dice first to the play, teleport coming through. A great equalizer stopping Heddle. And the Dragon is going to be picked up here by the side of DCG. That's the Soul now, Ocean Soul for them.
Oh.
And unfortunately, Washidai in a really rough position. Florin's going to follow him. The flash is there. Dice is trying to get himself out, but the Cataclysm is there to follow. No damage onto him so far as the quickness is going to be used, and Feng waiting there should be able to take down the Silas. Is going to be able to do so. A lot now riding on Yuhi to be able to defend this game, but unfortunately his front line is just melting in front of him. The knockup's there, the damage is there. Double kill for Feng, and they're going to finish off the ace for 0 as DCG roar array and look to take game 1.
Oh, yeah, it's a rough gig. And QT Dig maybe not necessarily quite anticipating what the level of competition was going to be coming in, but they sure as heck know now. Because there are so many opportunities where QT Dig could have taken a commanding position in this game. Just a little bit overeager, a little too quick to pull that trigger, and the positioning suffering for it allows DCG back in with some commanding team fight capabilities. They take the game and put themselves up 1-0.
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, QT Dig were in a position where you look at it, and they probably should be winning with just how fed Yuhi ended up getting, but unfortunately 2 mistakes in a row means that lead is all but nullified. DCG gets so many objectives off the back of it. Their Dragon control was near on perfect. They're able to take that game relatively quickly and relatively dominantly eventually.
Yeah, but I mean, QT Dig showing the signs of life that you want, and I mean, if they're capable of putting DCG in positions like that, there is no reason they can't potentially force us to a game 5, potentially win the series itself.
Absolutely.
It's just that hopefully, you know, whoever the commanding voices in this break, the coach, the analyst, captain even for the team, hopefully they can come to the team and say, look, okay, we had that in the bag. Here's what we did wrong. We need to tighten X, Y, and Z up, and we could take this game. Because realistically, there were you could blatantly identify 2 or 3 moments where it felt like they had that commanding position, but because the timing was a little bit off, it gave DCG the opening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Feng having a pretty rough game for himself, still doing a lot of damage there. But again, the biggest problem for QT Dig is even when they're ahead, they had to play so well because they're just such a low-range team composition against 3 of the best champs in the game at versing low range, right? Corki is very good against low-range comps. So is the Rise, and so is the Rumble. So you have to play very, very well. Any mistakes, and things are going to go pretty pear-shaped. Feng every mid-wave. Just having that longer range than Kai'Sa and a stronger short trade means that there was very little he could do to contest those middle waves. And every time he did try his best to do so, lost half of his HP, even while he was ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that game had you like to call them butterfly effect moments where you look at something and then you look 30 seconds beforehand, and the action that ensued 30 seconds beforehand set up the failures that then followed for QT Dig. You think about his fight just before the Baron. Early damage onto both Heddle and Washidai, both them going down. If they had been alive for that subsequent fight, Yuhi absolutely cleans up, because what he was lacking there was someone tanking the damage and locking down targets. And yeah, on the cusp, very much on the cusp of taking that game for themselves. A learning opportunity for QT Dig. If they can keep playing the way they did at their peak, this becomes a very interesting series. Yeah,
for sure. And for DCG, I mean, both teams coming into this one gonna have a bit of jitters, right? Haven't played in a competitive environment for a while, being that their leagues did finish relatively a couple weeks ago. So now coming in, you can imagine there's going to be some level of uncertainty as to how to play the game, or getting used to playing the game again, shall I say. I think DCG, you could see that in the early game, but once it got to those later games team fights, they were just much more organized, and they were just more often in the correct position when compared to QT Dig, and I imagine that is something that will likely continue throughout the series.
Absolutely. I mean, they showed some really, really brilliant moments to QT Dig, but for those brilliant moments they had, there were some pretty egregious ones, unfortunately. DCG were not immune to that either, but
sure.
yeah, I think this was a real problem. The pacing wasn't quite there for the team. Yuhi and Heddle had taken a lot of damage in the mid lane, courtesy of that Corki. Everything comes in and drips. It's not that consistent stream you want for a team fight like this. And then also having a Rumble in the thick of everything just makes it so much more chaotic, so much more hazardous to play. I think if they, again, if Van had waited a couple of seconds more, allowed the team to be in a better position to collapse it, suddenly that's an absolute screamer of a fight. But because everything is so staggered, so delayed, it allows DCG to absolutely capitalize. But then they answer with what has to be one of the most magnificent Silas plays I think we've seen all year.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It set him up and his team up for so much success. Yes, he goes down, but look at what he allows for Yuhi, picking up a quadra kill on the back end of this, and only Feng barely able to live. You saw QT Dig there, and you can see them, how excited they were at what just unfolded, but unfortunately that was about the last good event that occurred in that game.
Yeah, and another fight where everything is just sort of in portions. Yuhi jumps into the back line to melee range of a Rumble. Again, I think if DICE isn't playing that far forward, if the team is in a better position to be able to collapse in, that fight becomes much easier to play for Yuhi. The team is there synergistically. It's not coming in stages, which allows DCG to just work through the team one by one. And again, yeah, it's just, this wasn't DICE's fault this time. They tried to make a play in the bot side, and this was just the subsequent collapse in from DCG. Van gives his life to try and keep his mid laner alive. Does so successfully, finds himself a kill as well off the back of it.
Off the back somehow.
Yeah.
It was pretty incredible effort to have been able to find that. And this, I mean, yeah, I think of Yuhi flashes. I don't think Florin ever dies, but these four almost certainly do.
Yeah.
He just needs to not get hit by that knock-up. That's all the difference was. And the fact he had the flash and used it to try and escape a target ability, unfortunately, doesn't work.
And this was that final nail in the coffin, unfortunately. The ambitions of QT Dig, unfortunately, coming back to haunt them somewhat. If that chain lands onto Feng, DICE finds himself in a much better spot to play the team fight, but unfortunately, Feng just micros it so perfectly to avoid getting that avenue out for DICE, and from there, Yuhi just has no front line to work with.
Yeah, and Florin quietly having such a great performance for himself on that Rumble. Very excited to see more of that from this side of DCG, but of course, we are going to go to break. Once we're back, game number 2 between QT Dig and DCG. We'll see you very shortly.
True love is really just a face. Heard it all before. Y'all just need a score. Don't want it anymore. Can't take it no more. Love her I adore. Yes, and I am sure. Because love is war over and over, baby.
on the stat sheet, going up with a timeline. Man, I'm big time. Playoff berth, I'm a midwife. Back to back, I don't win twice. All pro with it like 10 times. What I'm saying. All city, all state, now I'm on a world stage. I took an L, had a turn page. Maxed out, yeah, I'm worth wage. I'm on the top with it first place. God got me for real, never burn sage. I just burn flame with it worst case. Got they hand tied like I'm Kirk Frank. It's prime time.
That's gonna be a double kill for a 30.
It's prime time. It's prime time.
The blossoms fall, and the black rose rises. Do you feel like the heroes of this story? Coming to save the day. You're pawns in a game that's already been decided. You will fight, as good soldiers do.
I will seal you away once more.
Your age has passed, Darkin. Stay buried.
And you will fail, as mortals must. Your course was doomed the moment you left Demacia. And entered my world of thorns. Make your final stand and see how your story ends.
Action-packed, I believe, is the best way to describe Game 1, and I think Game 2 probably likely to follow a similar trajectory because both of these teams do not seem at all afraid of just brawling.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. An LJL team which has a playstyle which is very much synonymous with the VCS we've seen this year. Just absolute knuckles out, gloves on the ground, all-out brawling. And to be fair, they did find a decent amount of success through that. It was not until things started getting away from them where it just got worse and worse, which tends to be the case with that playstyle. If you start losing real hard. But going into Game 2, as we get deeper into this fearless draft, of course, it's going to be interesting to see when those pocket picks start to come through, those comforts which have been so much of a staple of the domestic regions.
Absolutely. Blue side is going to be selected here for QT Dig, so we'll see if it's going to give them any better faith, I guess, here in Game 2. Of course, they were blue side for the first game as well. DCG picked that one up. But as you said, I mean, a play style from both of these teams really that does lean itself to winning harder or losing harder, either way. Was a bit of back and forward, but mostly off the back of, I want to say, mechanical misplays more so than anything else, of just going in a little bit too close to some high damage rumbles or possibly pulling the trigger a little bit too early. 665 as well, finding himself out of position a couple times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, coming into it though, both, like I said, QT Dig has shown that they can definitely win a game here.
Yeah, absolutely.
As it tends to always be in these, sub-regions, closing out the game is always the hardest part. So, I mean, if they can get control, if they can maintain control, for sure, this goes beyond just a 3-0 sweep. And I think I'd like to see that with how QT Dig played that first game.
Yeah, I think it would be sad to make your way over, play in the LCP arena and get knocked out in a 3-0. And I think certainly the caliber of player here does lean itself to be able to take more to DCG, even able to take the series if they're able to play as consistently as they were through the middle stage of that game. But again, you fall slightly behind if you are that aggressive. You are just going to continue to fall further and further behind. At DCG, they really found their rhythm when it came into that mid-game. You got that 2-item spike online for Feng. He started dishing out more than enough damage despite the deficit he found himself in, and Florin having a near-on perfect game for himself on that Rumble too.
Yeah, I mean, coming into it though, due to the fearless draft off the back of that game, 4 of the 5 roles technically have now had their most played champion gone. Rumble up in the top lane for Washington. Admittedly, he's got Cassante and Ambassador there. They've all been played 6 times. Wukong for Van as well. Again, tied with 4 other champions in that jungle role, but it's down in the bot lane. Kai'Sa and both the Rakan, the most played outright for both Yuhi and Hiddle. So as we go into the second draft, of course, QT Dig, ban away the Nico, the Trundle, the Jax, pick up the Xin Zhao, Poppy, Aurora, and Orianna the response.
Absolutely. Xin Zhao and Vi, 2 junglers we've seen quite a lot of. Although the Xin Zhao falling out of preference of late, more so the Pantheon we've seen a lot of. But again, I don't really mind what people are picking as long as it's what they're most comfortable on. And I think Van, if he is more comfortable on the Xin Zhao, there's no reason not to pick it. It also does offer a bit of protection against the Vi for the rest of the team as well.
One of the other 4 champions on 3 plays for him this split. So yeah, you'd imagine so.
And Feng going to get himself the Unara, a very scary champion in capable hands. And I know certainly Feng more than capable of pulling out the hyper carries and doing such.
Yeah, I mean, Feng's had a crazy deep champion pool this year. I mean, going so far as Draven, Victor coming out for him in the bot lane. So he's definitely showing he's got the legs for it.
I believe if you look too, there's going to be a top laner somewhere in his 80 carry pool.
For this year, no.
Oh, this year?
Not for Feng?
There was one game where DCG, they were against Frank, and they picked 5 top laners because they just picked all of YSKM's champion pool in game 1, and they won that game as well. So it was like a throwaway game where they just took away all the opposing top laners' champs and then still won.
I mean, Xiaoxi has played Camille support this year.
Yep, that'll be that game.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. Absolutely wild scenes.
There's Ari coming through. Something that maybe Hongzhou would have wanted to pair with the Vi. Sort of a mismatch of team compositions as it stands. Of course, there's no Kai'Sa to pair with it this game either, but the Ambassador certainly is there, and it's a good matchup into the Cassante.
Absolutely. I mean, QT Dig, for the most part, on the other side of that coin, hasn't really played anything just too wild or crazy. I think the most out there you get is looking at DICE playing Cassidy in the mid lane, and even then, that's not that wild. We've seen it already in the LCP. Was it the OPQ? I know we've seen it once this year.
I think we saw it once in the LCP. I believe it was Vikings, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. I might be wrong on that, but I do believe we have seen it, yeah. In any case, second phase of bans now. Xayah taken away. Of course, when you do pick up the likes of the Vi and the Ambassador, you don't really want to be going up against the Xayah. Civ is something else they could possibly consider.
Yeah, both bot laners having played the Civ plenty. Ambassador taken for Florin. That's the 3rd of those top laners that Washington has played the most this year gone, being the Rumble, the Cassante, and now the Ambassador. So you won't have those as an avenue going to the later stages of this best of 5.
One last ban now to come through as Lucian was actually the choice of ban for DCG. So Civ is going to be there if they want it, but it is still first pick for DCG. Not that they're likely to pick up something like a Sivir mid, but in theory.
Well, I mean, Sivir has only been played once by Feng this year. So
he's already picked his champ. I'm saying
low down the totem pole, so I don't know if that's going to be... I mean, it's 3 for you here as well, so neither of them have had a huge amount of prioritization around the champion. And saying that there has been a bit of time since both leagues respectfully ended.
Yeah, a lot longer for the PCS than compared to LJL, which ended just days before the LCP finals.
And then you look at the likes of the OPQ, which they had their flash in the PAN qualifier.
That's right.
What a
we
weekend
got saving Oath coming out of that one.
another tournament where we did back-to-back best of fives. Oh, that was a bleak evening.
It was a very rough night.
And then they go and clean sweep in the grand finals against one of the teams that was in that 10-game evening. Well, there you go. Rel coming in for Jasi, down paired with Yunara. Leona for Heddle. What do they put in the hands of Yuhi? That is the real question. Heddle's 4th most played support in the Leona.
So looking for an 80 carry. There's no real clear team composition being shown from either teams, just standalone champions. Smolder. I mean, Smolder against some low-range champs can do very well, but of course there's a lot of lockdown for him.
Yuhi's first Smolder this year as well.
There you go.
At least in the LGL with QT Dig.
So one last pick in this middle lane for Hangzhou. And we will have our drafts completed.
He's played pretty much anything and everything you can play in the mid lane. He even pulled out Zoe and Aurelia and Zed, if you want to be real fun. It's going to be Talia.
I can tell you which game the Aurelia one was.
Oh, yeah.
바론스 WQ로 바론 스틸을 좀 했었어서 귀한 모션에 바론 피냐타 이렇게 터트리는 것도 들어가 있고요. 크루 화상도 제가 맛있게 먹었잖아요. 그 요소도 잘 살려주셨습니다. It's good.
되게 간지나고 멋지고 좀 진지한 분위기를 나타내는 느낌을 많이 원했던 것 같고,
간지나는 마스크를 쓰고 있으면
멋진 마스크, 멋지고 스타일리시하게, 이제 또 요즘 사람이다 보니까는 좀 스타일리시하게 부탁드렸던 것 같습니다. 어깨 장식 같은 게 좀 뾰족뾰족하고 좀 높게 올라가서 이제 포인트를 줄 수 있으면 좋겠다고 생각했고, 무기 디자인도 더 날카롭고 긴 진짜 칼처럼 그런 형태를 이제 또 희망했습니다. 파이크가 살생부를 딱 펼치거든요. 그림을 자세히 보시면은 무슨 챔피언인지 이제 잘 알 수 있을 거예요. 파이크의 꽃이 또 이제 궁 표시라고 생각하는데, 그런 표시들이 또 T1의 상징인 붉은색으로 이제 이펙트들 나오고, 그리고 좀 너무 붉으면 또 안 되다 보니까는 은색 같은 걸로 좀 같이 곁들여서 나왔는데, 제가 생각했던 것보다 훨씬 궁 표시가 예쁘게 나온 것 같아가지고 너무 만족합니다. 초월급인데 이 정도면?
이번에는 사일러스인데 여러분들이 또 결승전에서 저희 플레이를 많이 좋아해 주셔서 스킨이 나오게 됐는데요. 이번 스킨은 사일러스 스킨 중에 처음으로 양쪽 팔의 사슬이 서로 다르다고 합니다. 그리고 이펙트를 딱 봤을 때 되게 작정하고 멋있게 만들어 주신 것 같습니다. 더 어둡고 더 위압적인 느낌을 많이 살렸습니다. 귀환 모션에서 왕관이 불타면서 해방되는 듯한 액션이 있는데, 그런 게 사일러스의 멋을 많이 표현한 것 같아요. 제가 파이널 MVP가 될 수 있게 많이 도와준 사일러스 프레스티지 스킨도 많이 사랑해주세요.
2024 월드 우승의 감동을
팬 여러분들이
다시 한번
느껴보셨으면 좋겠습니다.
감사합니다.
Hôm nay có lương lên nha. Hôm nay cả hai anh em đều bình luận đấy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here for day number 2 of our promotional series for the 2026 LCP. And an exciting one, realistically, where we do have Team Inferno going up against DCG. Now, looking at it, obviously coming from yesterday's series, it was a 3-0 that DCG found over QT Dig that got them here. On the other side of things, it was Saving O's going down 1-3 to Inferno Esports. And looking at the series we have in our hands today, I do unfortunately believe we do have another 3-0 in our hands. DCG, again, they just look a little bit like a cut above the rest when it comes to these regions, these domestic regions, and I think the success they've had over the course of this year as a 5-man unit that has stayed together is going to be so valuable when it comes to a series like tonight.
Yeah, I mean, like, for my money, they feel... And this is not to discredit DCG, who have identified, given themselves this pretty clear-cut identity. They feel almost like junior talent in the way that they execute, because when they collapse in as a team, they do it brutally efficiently. And it seems to be maybe it's just a case of it is a very PCS style of play, and it looks very reminiscent of that. But DCG, clearly their own entity when it comes to this region. So Inferno Esports, they made their mistakes against Saving O's, and unfortunately for Saving O's, they weren't able to capitalize nearly as well as Inferno Esports did. But a team like DCG, what we saw yesterday tells me that Inferno Esports aren't going to have the same luxuries they did against the OSA representatives.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the success that DCG had, right? There was only one moment for about 5 minutes in any of the series where it looked like they even could possibly lose, and even then it was pretty immediate that they found that pick onto Yuhi that then pretty much secured themselves that Game 1 win. Game 2 and Game 3 were just absolute stomps, and so they do play like a cohesive 5-man unit. They play like a team, much more so than we saw out of Inferno Esports. And I just can't shake the feeling that, yes, the PCS is just a little bit stronger as a region than the rest of these domestic leagues, and unfortunately the fact that DCG's won throughout the entirety of the year does then honestly just tell me that it should be a pretty clear fire for them to at least make it to the series tomorrow against Chiefs. And honestly, going into that, if they look as good today as they did yesterday, I'd even have some confidence of them taking that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really does just sort of speak to how much competition has been available to both, teams coming into this. For DCG, there's been 3 splits of the PCS played throughout this year. For Inferno Esports, they've had the Liga Republica, which ran from, the 10th of July to the 27th. So 17 days worth of competition versus an entire year. I think it's rather impressive that Inferno Esports find themselves looking as coherent as they do. It's a pretty hard, even Saving O's to an extent, they had maybe a month to get themselves to the position that they were in yesterday, and they still almost found themselves going up against DCG today. It's definitely one of those things, like, given how we've seen these teams play, you want to see that competition expanded into 2026, because if that's what they're able to achieve with less than 3 weeks to get themselves coordinated to a point where they play in a competition like this, imagine what they could do with an entire year's worth of preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is kind of where we find ourselves. It's one team with a lot of experience playing together. They've played, obviously, in what was the Tier 1 league in the past. I mean, 665, as well as Feng and Chelsea were all in the PCS last year. Chelsea has even played in the LPL. So you look at this, it's like, okay, this team has a lot of experience. They've now played together for an entire year, and it does feel a bit insurmountable for the rest of the teams. Now, looking at them as individuals as well, just phenomenal players. I mean, 665 didn't die a single time in games 2 and 3, playing out of his mind. Fing as well. He had a shaky game on Corki, I'll give you that, but outside of that, looked really, really good. And Chelsea, for my money, in the pool of supports we have here, is arguably the best, and I'm including Luon in that pool. I think Chelsea ultimately is just such a talented support player that it makes these bot lanes very, very difficult. And you look at Inferno Esports, where did the majority of their success come from? Well, it was out their bot lane. I don't think they're going to have the free reign that they got yesterday, and unfortunately, Fing and Chelsea just seem a little bit above in terms of their capabilities and how they play as a unit, as a two-man duo down in that bottom lane.
Yeah, and you look at the two teams and what was played yesterday, there's clearly a lot of overlap in that bot lane. So whether it's coming through the ban phase or the pick phase, there is going to be some heavily contested picks. So I think it does paint a much more interesting story for these two teams coming into it. Who is going to be able to work the best with the scraps that then remain coming out of the Fearless Draft through games 1 through 3, potentially further if Inferno Esports can push it, because the onus really is on them to push it beyond just a 3-game series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying DCG are flawless. I do think they make mistakes. I mean, we saw it in game 1 again, and how much of that is jitters from not having played for a while and how, you know, getting used to the stage and all that. We'll find out obviously today and the series that we have on our hands, but I do think ultimately it should be DCG picking up. I think looking at yesterday, it should also be a 3-0, but they aren't without their faults. We are going to go to the Riot Fist now. Once we're back though, we will get underway with game number 1.
Never have I ever been on the sidelines, only front line. The line on the stat sheet going up with a timeline. Man, I'm big time. Playoff berth, I'm a midwife. Back to back, I don't win twice. All pro with it like 10 times. What I'm saying. All city, all state, now I'm on a world stage. I took an L, had a turn page. Maxed out, yeah, I'm worth wage. I'm on the top with it first place. God got me for real, never burn sage. I just burn flame with it, worst case. Got they hands high like I'm Kirk Frank. It's prime time.
That's gonna be a double kill for a 30.
It's prime time.
Incredible the openings are. I've included teams from all over the globe there to bring us that entrance, and now we get to see the players as they will take to the stage. DCG up against Inferno Esports. I mean, again, we harped on about it in the pre-show. DCG, again, a lot of time spent together, an entire year in which they've won absolutely everything they possibly could. This is the one thing left for them to win, and they are coming in looking hot.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand Twitch chat comes into that pre-show and thinks, oh, well, these casters are really biased. They're leaning very heavily towards DCG. I mean, the record speaks for itself. It's not that Inferno Esports are a bad team. No, in fact, I want to see more of these guys. Given how they played yesterday, they just lack the experience compared to a team like DCG, who are in the heart of the LCP in this city, of course. And as we see these two teams take to the stage, a massive opportunity here up for grabs for Inferno Esports. They could do arguably the unthinkable in representing a Filipino team to a major region.
Yeah, that would be incredible to see. Unfortunately, they are looking across from the likes of Florin, who took to the stage in that top lane, and 665, of course, coming onto stage as of now. And I mean, for both the teams, honestly, junglers yesterday performing really admirably. 665 again, didn't die in the second or third game of the series. Had a very good game for himself in the first game as well. And on the other side, Born This Way, fantastic Lee Sin performance. Honestly, game-breaking Sejuani performance, which is not often something you think out of a Sejuani. It's going to be a lot on these two guys' shoulders as to how much they can do for their team. 665, definitely a bit more aggressive than we see out of Born This Way in general, so whether or not Born This Way and the side of Inferno Esports are going to be able to sort of weather that storm is going to be interesting to see.
I think I'm beginning to understand why Crimson got subbed out yesterday. Did you see that man's arms? That dude is rocking some major guns there. I think they had to sub him out, otherwise he would have just burnt all that energy. That dude has got some absolute stature behind him. But as the last couple of players take to this stage, I mean, Moops, had some standout moments against Saving O's yesterday and literally ripped the heart out of a region effectively.
Absolutely. Head coach is coming on the stage. Of course, for anyone who doesn't know, the head coach of Inferno Esports is in fact Arja, the top laner for PSG Talon's brother. So if they were able to find their way into qualification, take on the Chiefs and then take them out, it would be a reuniting of that brotherhood. And I mean, it would be interesting to see them go head to head. Obviously, one a coach, one a player, so it's not necessarily directly head to head, but nonetheless.
Yeah, no, I mean, the two sets of brothers potentially that could have come into the LCP through this promo relegation story, and obviously Violet now having been eliminated. But yeah, I mean, coach versus top laner going into the 2026 season would have been a very, very interesting story to see played out. There he is on your screen right now.
Yeah, only 2 letters separated in terms of their IDs as well.
Oh, yeah.
Arja and Accent.
But, I mean, how much can he bring to this roster? It was quite effective yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they came out of a lot of those drafts feeling pretty comfortable. I kind of liked, again, where they went for something their style, you know, bringing out the likes of the Fiora there, made it a lot more difficult for Saving O's to find progress. And though they were winning those team fights, there was this lingering threat of Fiora just mounting your structures on the side lane, and it was the eventual undoing of Saving O's there in that game number 3.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You look at this roster. Literally joined together July 6th. That is how long these guys have been together. And Inferno Esports blue side is going to be opted into, understandably at this stage, and given how we've sort of seen that develop, especially through the tail end of that season finals for the LCP, the topper teams did lean towards that blue side pick early on, tailing off towards red side in games sort of 3, 4, and 5.
Absolutely. For DCG, I mean, at least their jungler 665 and their AD carry Feng, they did play together last year, so a lot of time those two have spent together. Obviously, Xiaoxi, Hongshu, and Florin did come in this year, but they've certainly meshed well together. Hongshu picking himself up the MVP for yesterday. It was a standout performance from him, especially that Talia game.
Yeah.
Austerity, the AD carry for Inferno Esports, picking up the MVP for himself, a pentakill even in that series. Some standout performances on the Corki, the Yunara.
Yeah. I mean, they're on. Yeah, look at that. Look at those arms.
Those
that dude.
Guns.
He is. Yeah, look. I fear for that mouse if he gets ganked early.
Did a great job yesterday.
Oh, he did.
Obviously, the control mages tends to be, at least from what we gathered yesterday, what is in his wheelhouse. And once he comes out, those melee assassins, the Akali, the Silas, for Celeste. We'll see if they get to that point, if they want to stick towards their control mages. I'm sure Hongshu pretty capable of dealing with both. I wouldn't expect to see the likes of the Caitlyn out of him, as Kyose brought out yesterday. Pretty effectively, despite going down to quite a few ganks early on. Really made a game for himself out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is, if you sort of dive into this Inferno Esports roster, a surprising amount of history, believe it or not. You look at the likes of Born This Way, who but you wouldn't think, but has had experience playing through the NLC over in Europe even, back in 2022.
Here we are. Draft on your screen now. LJW going to have himself that rumble. Talia and Zinzao alongside it there for that jungle and mid lane. On the other side of things, the Wukong, Aurora, Kai'Sa. So different looks.
Hello anh em. Chào mừng em quay trở lại với ngày thi đấu tiếp theo của LCP Promotion. Thì đây đang là vòng LCP Thanh Hạn. Không biết là cái vòng này cái thể lệ của nó như nào, nhưng mà theo tôi được biết thì LCP hiện tại đang thiếu một vài đội hay sao ấy, nên là mấy đội này đánh để mùa sau họ được đánh. Để xem coi là cặp thi đấu ngày hôm nay DCG với lại là IE team nào ăn nhá. Tôi chắc chắn là DCG nó sẽ ăn thôi. Trong mấy cái đội promotion như này thì chỉ có thằng DCG là anh Tôm thấy là đánh được, còn lại thì hơi dái anh em. Còn lại là đi hết. Thì ban pick lại thôi, chắc là do vấn đề gì đấy, ban pick lỗi hay gì đấy nên là họ ban pick lại. Thì bây giờ là ván thi đấu đầu tiên. Đội dân IE, còn đội đỏ thì là DCG. Những cái lượt cấm, lượt chọn và các thứ thì nó cũng được tung ra rồi. Thì nói chung thì mấy đội này cấm chọn nó cũng không thật sự là quan trọng lắm, tại vì DCG nó ao trình thằng bên trái quá. Đội xanh hay đội đỏ thì nó cũng chơi tất thôi nên mà. Để xem coi là DCG họ sẽ chơi đội hình áp lực ở đầu game hay không. Đây, Kaisa Nico là một bộ đôi đánh mặn ở khu vực cánh dưới, thì bên kia có thể lấy Koki hoặc là Seiya gì đấy. Để xem nào. Seiya Rakan, Seiya bị cấm rồi. Sivir. Sivir và gì mới được. Sivir không thì nó đúng là đi đường ngon, đẩy lính được và lấy được lợi thế cấp 2. Như vậy là một bộ đôi cánh dưới khá là khỏe từ IE nha. Sivir Kaisa, nhầm, Sivir Kama. Đường giữa cũng là một kèo đẩy lính. Còn đường trên thì sao? DCG có thể để cho con Aurora nó đi top với Rumble. Và lực cuối có thể lấy là khu vực đường giữa, để xem coi lấy cái gì bây giờ. Cái ST đường trên. Như vậy là ván này DCG đánh hiền rồi. Nhưng mà vì là trình độ chênh lệch nó quá là nặng nên là em Tôm sẽ theo cái DCG trừ 13.5 nha anh em nhé. Kèo em Tôm lên trong nhóm cho anh em tham khảo nha anh em nhé.
A lot of people upset that they didn't get a spot because looking at 2024 rather, they had a phenomenal year for themselves. Obviously a different lineup. They had same AD carry and jungle as I talked about earlier.
Anh em cứ spam trừ cho em Tôm. Trường ơi, bé nhớ ăn không? Ok, bé Trường nhớ ăn Thành nhớ. DCG là của Việt Nam mà anh em không phải nhá. DCG là bên bên nào nhỉ? Bên Úc à? Không phải Úc. DCG này nó là Đài Loan. Nó là Đài Loan. Bọn này là PCF. Ải TK88 sao em Tôm thì ăn vào cái app, ăn vào cái link, ăn vào chan cái là nó có một cái phần tải app ấy. Ăn vào nhóm đi em Tôm hướng dẫn cho.
Definitely isn't the prestige. The only person I've seen use it was Zoranus.
Anh mở TK88 lên là nó hiện cái phần tải app ngay cái giao diện chính của nó luôn. Nên nói chung là anh mở chan lên là được à. Rồi chúng ta cùng đến ván đầu tiên của ngày hôm nay. IE và DCG. Cái giải đấu củ nồi LCP Promotion. Em Tôm đi DCG trừ nha. Thì 3 ván thằng DCG mở trừ bao nhiêu em Tôm đi trừ bấy nhiêu nha. Hong Duo cũng là một thằng đi mid rất là ok nhé. DCG thì đội bên Pacific Ocean thì bên PCS đây. Bên Đài Loan, còn thằng IE. Thằng IE em Tôm nhớ không nhầm hình như là Philippines. Như là IE là thằng Philippines hay sao ấy, Philippines hay là đúng rồi, Philippines. Nhìn cái mặt này không phải là mặt châu Âu rồi, nó là Philippines. Còn một đội bên Úc nữa. Một đội bên Úc, một đội bên Nhật, một đội Đài Loan, một đội Philippines. Chùi 3.5 to nhưng mà nó clear được đấy anh ạ. To nhưng mà nó sẽ clear được đấy.
Kind of crazy though that DCG are allowed to have 2 Casantos in the bot lane. That just feels a bit broken. But I mean, realistically, Casante weathers that storm pretty well. Look, he's not going to have as good a time as a Rumble would, but look, he's not getting much CS, but he's not.
Đây là cái chiến thuật đảo đường. Đây thì chiến thuật này nói chung là gần đây thì LCK nó làm nhiều quá nên là mấy vùng khác nó cũng học hỏi theo anh em thôi. Lẽ ra là cái chiến thuật này nó được sử dụng từ ngày xưa rồi, từ cái lúc mà cái gọi là cái chống đảo đường nó mới xuất hiện đấy. Mà không biết là tại sao lúc đấy người ta không xài, bây giờ mới xài. Tới gần chung kết thế giới rồi bọn nó xài. Thành ra là LCK nó sẽ là cái đội mạnh nhất, máy đội mạnh nhất sử dụng cái chiến thuật đảo đường như này. Tại vì mấy đội khác nó chưa kịp xài nên mà chưa kịp xài và chưa kịp làm quen. Thì nó đã gần với chung kết thế giới quá rồi, và sắp tới thì chung kết thế giới anh em kiểu gì cũng sẽ có cái chiến thuật đảo đường như này. Và không biết là mấy đội LPL, mấy đội khác như là LEC bên châu Âu các thứ nó sẽ chơi như thế nào với cái chiến thuật này đây. Tôi cảm thấy là chiến thuật này nó khá là bá dơ. Nó khiến cho đường trên không còn là đường trên nữa. Và cái early game 5 phút đầu tiên nó cứ xoay quanh cái việc đảo đường. Nó khiến cho một cái đội hình pick mạnh ở cái giai đoạn đi đường nó lại không còn sức mạnh như ban đầu nữa. Ví dụ như đường trên mà đang có một kèo thắng, tự nhiên đảo đường phát nó đi với AD thành ra là thành kèo hòa. Và nó không tận dụng được cái ban pick của nó anh em ạ. Thì đây là một điều phải nói là rất khó chịu bởi cái chiến thuật này. Đường dưới Flauren sắp hết mẹ mana rồi, chắc là xong quay lính này đi về thôi. Xin Giang nó bọc phía sau, nó không cho về cái anh em kìa. Xong là muốn ban trụ rồi, mana không còn nữa. Phải làm sao đây? Vẫn là đi về mà thôi. Phải lại farm nốt quay. Đường trên bắt choán thành công rồi và lao vào tốc biến sấy luôn. Một chấm máu đến từ Shisui. Shisui này là Shisui Itachi à? À không, ông này là CLC. Ông nhìn nhầm thành Shisui ạ. Em tôi sắp đi nghĩa vụ quân sự anh em ơi. Buồn quá. Khả năng là sang năm em tôm đi nghĩa vụ quân sự rồi. Xí suối. Chiến công đầu có dành cho IE rồi. Thực ra là mấy con vợ IE nó cũng gọi là căng phết nhờ. Nó cũng biết băng trụ đường trên phết. Nó cũng biết khai thác phết. Đây là cái early game mà nó rất là cơ bản luôn. LCK xài rất là nhiều. LCK, LPL. Thì mấy cái đội vùng khác nó cũng học theo thôi em ạ. Đầu tàu nó vẫn là LCK, LPL là những cái đội nó phát triển ra những cái chiến thuật early game như là đảo đường. Và mấy vùng khác nó sẽ học theo. Nó sẽ nghiên cứu tại sao lại làm như vậy và làm sao đấy tối ưu thì bọn nó sẽ học theo và sử dụng nó. Nếu mà nó có lợi thì chắc chắn là họ sẽ sử dụng thôi. Ở đường giữa Hongsugo đang bị tấn công, đập vào và lướt được cổng về. Vẫn sẽ là sống sót. Ở phía dưới thì 665 đang ăn rồng thì buộc phải buông con rồng tạm thời ra để tránh những tình huống ép bắn nhau. Nhưng IE rõ ràng là họ không bỏ cuộc con rồng này. Bắn không? Họ quyết định là bỏ rồi. Như vậy sẽ là rồng đầu dành cho DCG.
Yeah, I think that's the smart call, honestly, because you see he's a level behind. The last thing you want is to continue slipping further and further behind, especially a Wukong who is just power farming towards that 6. Unfortunately, the cost benefit of being a little bit more proactive around the map for Born This Way means that he is just a step behind.
Show now on the Aurora going to be matched into this Rumble. This is a matchup we actually saw in the LCP a couple times. Just come out straight from Kiaya more often than not.
Aja was the other one to pick it up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds
it was very early on.
That sounds about on par for Aja. He's a bit of an enjoyer of the ranged top laners, I'm sad to say.
And then Zoran has pulled it out once, but I can't for the life of me remember who was playing. I don't think it was a Rumble that game, but either way, that is a wee while ago now. 665 has Cyclone online, still holding a nice, comfortable advantage over Born This Way, and can look
bên này nó đảo đường hơi kỳ nhờ. Đảo cho cặp bot ra mid sớm. Sớm quá. Mid lên trên. Còn hai thằng top thì xuống bot. Hai thằng đều có tele.
Back in split 2, so if I'm not mistaken, the first week of.
Yeah, it was. Then he played Italy into Sion.
Quỳ 3 thành công rồi. Cái thế sao ăn? Bế. Không bế rồi.
Who was no? Maybe I must be thinking of another. It was in Italy at the Sion game with the grass proc.
Oh, that was the VCS derby.
Ah, that was the one. Where it just didn't matter that Italy got all those procs.
Yeah, it's
Sion just gets more value. Oh dear. Either way, 8 minutes on. Grubs are alive and Born This Way is here. Has the crescent sweep as well.
3 sâu không đầu tiên. Một sâu thì đã dành cho 665 rồi, người ta xoáy luôn lần R đầu tiên và lao ra xoáy thêm lần nữa hay không đây, đang thiếu người. Tạm thời là lui về. IE đang dồn cả 5 thành viên xuống khu vực đường trên để họ đánh nhau nha, mưa tên lửa đổi dạng các thứ, chụp lồng 2 thế giới, tất cả mọi thứ được bùng ra. Bên này thì xin giao đã bị hạ gục rồi. Đó là mạn một đều cho DCG, dẫn lên được một nhịp nữa nhưng không tìm kiếm được cơ hội nào khác, quay về lấy cho mình con sâu thứ 2. Thế là 2 sâu dành cho DCG, sau đó thì họ là lui về mà thôi. Tỷ số đã được cân bằng là 1 đều. Cũng gọi là tín đấy.
Continuing to keep the Zinzao down, allow 665 to keep ramping up further and further. A little bit rough. It looked like it was going to be a good shout, and it was a decent ult out of LJW, but just with austerity, realistically unable to play that fight in any meaningful way. Much the same, it felt like for Crimson, because On The Hunt comes out early, TP's come through.
Trừ lại nhót rồi. Chưa gì hết mà đã trừ nhót rồi. Nó còn nguyên mà. Khi nào nó thua mạng ấy thì lúc đấy trừ mới nhót. Còn đan hòa mạng chưa có tình huống đi xảy ra thì trừ nó vẫn còn nguyên mà. Mấy thằng DCG nó có thể là nó bán độ nha. Tại vì cộng trừ cao như này nó bán thì quá ngon đấy. Mấy thằng Đài Loan mà anh em. Nhưng mà em tôi nghĩ là thằng IE nó nên bán đấy em ạ. Nó nên bán kèo trừ vào mấy cái khoản khác quan trọng như này. Philippines là một nước nghèo nha. Nếu mà mấy thằng IE mà nó bán một phát là mẹ giàu biết bao nhiêu kinh tế rồi vào, đúng không em? Thì em tôi nghĩ là nên bán. Không nên ham tham vọng làm gì. Thôi ham tiền đi. Bây giờ nó có đánh vào LCP, nó vào đánh được PZ, có slot PZ đi nữa thì nó đánh cũng có thắng được đâu anh em. Nên thôi bán mẹ nó cặp này đi, dễ bán. Trong lúc mà kèo trừ nó còn đang cao thì cứ bán full trừ luôn. Nhưng mà thấy thì Philippines nó đang khá là chai hạt một tí. Và để xem coi nhịp rồng tiếp theo đã có trên bản đồ. DCG sẽ ăn rồng luôn ngay thời điểm nó vừa mới xuất hiện. Còn IE họ cũng đang bắt đầu di chuyển ra. Lấy lại tầm nhìn rồi, rồng còn 2.000 máu này. Đang bị cấu rỉa khá là khó chịu đến từ combo đường dưới của IE. Sau đó thì tạm thời là buông con rồng ra một tí. Đồng đội đang tới xin giao vào. Và mưa tên lửa kẹp bản năng sát thủ búp thêm tí giáp, nhưng mà con Kaisa nó nằm mất rồi. Bên này 665 xoáy được vào vị trí của Sivir, nhưng có vẻ như ta không đủ đam. Ăn được rồng và sau đó nằm xuống. Phía trên gỡ được màn tốt cho Hong Suo. Kaisa T bị hất về. Q3 thành công, tốc biến bế. Ui, cái góc bế nó bị lôi anh em ơi, nó không bế được vào trụ. Ui rồi ôi, bất kìa anh em, bất kìa. Cái ra tay nó không bế vào trụ được kìa anh em. Pha vừa rồi là một pha mà con cây Sante, cái chiêu cuối của nó bị bất anh em ạ. Nó không bế được vào trụ. Vậy tỷ số đó là 4-2 cho IE rồi. Kèo trừ đái rồi anh em. Đấp trúng phát lao thẳng vào luôn. Nhìn con Nico hơi tục ở ván này. Đây là pha mà bế hụt này anh em. Cái pha vừa rồi là lỗi đấy anh em, mà cái pha bế ulti vừa rồi nó bị lỗi đấy. Tại vì con Shinja nó vẫn còn đang bị hất tung ấy, bế nó bị lỗi. Cái này thi thoảng em tôi chơi cây Sante tôi cũng bị nha. Cái này nó là một cái bug ấy. Mặc dù là đứng con Shinja pha vừa rồi đứng chát tường rồi nhưng bế không được, cay không? Cay vãi nồi rồi. Anh em ráng chờ thêm một vài ngày nữa đi anh em, một vài ngày nữa là Asia Master đánh lại rồi. Ngày 6 tháng 10. Ở đây em tôm stream anh em vào xem mà đẹp. Một pha di chuyển bắt lẻ người tốt đến từ DCG. Hứa được một mạng. Nhót chưa nhót. Bọn DCG nó vẫn đang chủ động hơn nhiều mà. Chưa nhót đâu, yên tâm. Nghe chúng này lao qua từ xoáy R luôn. Ơ kìa. Ơ kìa, tầm nhìn không có. Ơ kìa. Đánh kỳ quá nhá. Đây là hai cái tele lên khu vực đường trên để có những tình huống bắn trụ. Hongsuo bên này sốc đam, bản năng sát thủ lao vào bắn. Có màn đầu tiên nhắm tiếp vào Crimson và có màn thứ hai cho DCG. Quay ngược lại nhắm vào Rumble trong trụ. Q3 của cây Sate không thành công rồi, nổ hoa cũng hụt luôn nhưng mà mất máu là rất nhiều. Còn cây Sate nó tăng trụ quá mạnh cho team. Họ lấy được luôn trụ đầu ở khu vực cánh trên. Tao không like được á, sao lại không like được? Like được mà. Anh em đã xem cho em tôi xin một like với anh em mà lấy đề xuất kênh với. Cảm ơn anh em nhiều nha.
Big pickup in the mid lane though. Yeah, off the back of Moops going down as well. That ward. Wow. Just taking out the support for Inferno Esports that just punished for trying to get that vision down. They don't blow anything for it either. So they know they've already got at least the two on the top side. They clear out that vision. Yeah, look, a bit of damage taken, but it's all by the clone. Great little fake out with that control over the tri-brush and Chelsea there. They lock down, born this way.
Xem lại tình huống di chuyển gọi là băng trụ vừa rồi đến từ DCG. Thì con Wukong nó vào nó xoáy R lấy máu trước, sau đó là thực hiện băng trụ luôn. Aurora pha này xử lý tốt. Cái W của Kaisa nó trúng phát R vào phụ đam luôn. Nhưng mà khúc này thì mất sứ giả rồi. Sứ giả cho IE. Ngược lại DCG đánh ra khu đường giữa. Gỡ lại một tí máu của trụ mà thôi, không quá lời. Mà nhìn vào cái trụ được giữa của DCG mất rồi kìa. Ok, mất khi nào đấy?
These minion waves on the server though, so no more damage to come through on that mid tower. DCG already having lost theirs to Inferno Esports puts the map state relatively good.
6-4
down 1k gold, nothing too impactful in general.
Oh, there you go, just chunks and chunks. Classic between the Nico and the Aurora. Ping. A lot of time in this bot lane. No one's going to come to answer, so they will just sack this tier 1 on the bot side.
IE là team nước nào á? Philippines nha. IE là bọn Philippines. DCG là Đài Loan. Sứ giả đặt luôn khu vực đường giữa rồi. Kìa. Lái sứ giả đi đâu đấy? Vào luôn không? Ôi, vào luôn. Bác qua AD này hệ chiến nha anh em. Có vẻ như là xoáy chết được Hongsuo luôn được kìa. Xoáy chết luôn rồi. Wukong tới xoáy R, bản năng thủ nổ hoa lần này thì đã đẹp rồi. Mưa tên lửa cũng được trả ngược lại. Đây là một đổi một, Florent đứng tăng, gống đắp mở đường lao vào với Q3 thành công được 2 người, bế luôn chiêu cuối, khép góc là rất đẹp. DCG cũng tràn đội hình vào dứt điểm 2 thành viên, đó sẽ là thành viên thứ 3. 4 mạng cho DCG rồi. Tạ thủ DCG sẽ có cho mình mạng double kill. 1-1 đổi 4. Quá lời cho DCG. Bà lái sứ giả hay đấy nhờ. Lần đầu tiên em Tôn thấy con AD nó lái sứ giả tông trụ 2 như vậy anh em. Mà đúng mấy thằng Philippines. Sợ thật. Hài điên em ạ. Như vậy là mất luôn con rồng 3 rồi. Hiện tại thì trên lượt vàng nó đâu đấy khoảng là 4k. Chúng ta xem lại pha lái sứ giải vừa rồi đến từ IE. Thì em tôi bảo rồi, thằng Philippines là một đội tới ra nước của nó kinh tế nó nghèo nên là bán độ là chuyện bình thường. Với lại nó vào được vòng trong nữa thì nó cũng khả năng là không thắng được. Nó vào vòng trong nó cũng chả lấy được danh hiệu hay danh vọng gì đâu. Nên thôi ở ngoài vòng này bán mẹ cho rồi. Bán 3 game về trừ hết cho em Tôm. Hôm sau em Tôm qua làm cái passport Philippines, em Tôm thưởng cho mấy bé nhá. Em Tôm mỗi má 100.000 thì em Tôm thưởng mấy bé một đứa nhá. Tôm thưởng cho 130.000 luôn. Game giải thể rồi hả? Nên em ai biết đâu. Em Tôm không có thông tin gì về VCS hết. Nó là đội vô danh mà nên là bán độ đi cho nó khỏe. Mẹ phải là em Tôm là thằng IE nhá. Em Tôm sẽ côn cho team em Tôm. Mẹ bán hết kèo trừ. Game nào cũng bán kèo trừ cho tao. Xong mà mỗi thằng một căn nhà thì mẹ mày thấy có phải sướng không? Lại chả sướng đúng không em? Lại chả sướng. Trời ơi. Gam bây giờ tụt về sau rồi, thua team Well rồi. Gam bây giờ chán quá, Gam bây giờ cần một thằng đứng giữa đánh tốt một chút. Support thì đánh ok rồi. Pit thêm một bạn nữa cho DCG. Gam cần mid. Gam cần tài năng trẻ mới. Gam bây giờ thiếu nhân lực quá. Mà đào tạo thì không đào tạo được anh em. Đào tạo khó quá. Không có kinh tế mà đào tạo mấy thằng nhân tài trẻ. Crimson chắc chắn là đi rồi. Phía sau nó còn có hai thằng nó bọc đầu như này thì sống kiểu gì đây? Atakhan trước mặt. Hai người chơi của IE bị bắt lẻ trong một tình huống có Atakhan. Và họ mất Atakhan. Em Giai biết trận team Well trên với Hangolai không á? Không, em Tôm chịu. Tôm không có xem mấy trận ấy. Bon This Way chạy ra cố gắng là làm một chút áp lực gì đấy. Nổ hoa thì sao? Nổ hoa như cái đầu bùi. Vâng, Atakhan còn 5.000 máu. Atakhan quấn nó cũng là khá đâu nha. Đội hình DCG mất rất nhiều máu vì con Atakhan này rồi. Chui đang bị khép góc với 100 máu. Ata quyết định là đổi hướng để đi về luôn. Thằng Sivir nó biết rồi, anh em ơi, nó quăng Quy vào là chết này. Quy hụt rồi, chạy vào lấy tầm nhìn. Thằng Sisu không về đi. Cái thịt bà mày. Về không về. Như vậy là ở lại đổi mạng luôn rồi. Cây Sante cân 2 được không thì Hong Suo 1 chấm máu bị vã lay theo double kill. Đổi dạng chiêu cúi San bắt đầu chơi. Và Kaisa thì vẫn đàn bắn. Có được 2 mạng. Vâng, đối được 2. Trời ơi, má cái thằng Nico này nó đánh mù bắt đem Tôm quá. Và đánh như vậy thì nó về tài kill cho anh em rồi. Đánh như vậy là nó về tài kill cho anh em. 16-7. Hơn có 9 mạng. Em Tôm cần thêm 5 mạng nữa. Talia xài R trúng nhưng mà nó thấy góc xấu quá bị kẹp nên là nó bỏ đồng đội nó về luôn. Xem lại tình huống nổ hoa vừa rồi đến từ Si Xuôi. Thật sự là nhìn nó hoa quá. Sau đó thì pha này đồng đội nó tạo góc về rồi không về đi. Quay qua bên kia đứng đéo hiểu nó làm gì. Không ngồi nó về nó không về. Bên này bạn đang sát thủ quá nó bắn. Bảo sao bên DCG nó lại có góc kẹp đẹp như thế. Phía trên thì Aura nó cũng đi luôn. Mất máu nhiều quá rồi. Còn Taliza nó dựng tường lên để xem coi là đồng đội có chạy về được hay không. Bây giờ lại đánh nhau nữa. Tờ này mưa tên lửa mọi thứ đang được tung ra. Bên phía team 2 họ hủy diệt hoàn toàn bên phía của team 1 luôn. Taliza của Crimson cũng không còn được lùi. Đó là quét sạch cho DCG. Với tổng đổi mạng là 1 đổi 4. Có luôn Atakhan nữa. Quét sạch 21-18. 21-8. Trừ tới đây thì về rồi hai anh em ha. Chúng ta xem lại tình huống bản năng sát thủ vừa rồi, đảo góc bắn là rất đẹp đến từ Feng. Sau đó Born This Way cũng vào nhưng rất tiếc không đổi được mạng. Thằng Crimson tốc biến quăng đá thì nó ăn được cái mạng Aurora, sau đó thì cũng đi luôn. Giải thăng hạn này thằng nào được đánh giá cao nhất là cái thằng bên phải, cái thằng DCG ấy. Thằng DCG là thằng được đánh giá cao nhất. Ngoài thằng DCG ra thì mấy đội còn lại như cái giấy. Thằng này chắc chắn là sẽ có slot vào QZ.
Crimson has walked his way down here, but still quite far away. This way is going to get vision of the dragon. He's going to go on in there. Could come down to a smite.
Dòng 4 cho DCG. Đi giao qua có ý định là cướp gọi là cướp rồng nhưng cũng không cướp được.
Unfortunately, just a little too early there on the trigger pull from Born This Way. If he holds off for a little bit longer, second and a half or so, there may be an angle between the worlds.
Vào trụ đánh nhau luôn. Thật sự là một comeback mà IE họ không làm được gì hơn ngoài việc là bất lực mà thôi. Nhưng mà nếu như em Tôm là IE thì em Tôm cũng làm y hệt cái trò tương tự như này. Đó chính là bán độ. Đó chính là bán nốt luôn cái kèo trừ cho nó thoải mái anh em ạ.
You see the signs of desperation starting to set in this Inferno Esports roster as DCG just storm past them. They will get themselves tier 2 in the top and mid. And you look at it, what an angle from 665, looking into the backs. Gets austerity between two worlds, or between worlds rather. Just so much chaos, so much disruption, and all the while Feng just toying, teetering on the edge of death. Holds fast.
They're kept alive by Florin's shield in the midst of that fight. And I mean, yeah, the lead at this point is at the stage where
26-8 rồi. Trừ thì bao về thôi anh em ha. LCP ai xuống hạn ấy, em Tôm cũng không biết nữa. Em Tôm chỉ biết đây là cái giải LCP Promotion thôi. Chứ còn mà cái mục đích giải này tạo ra làm gì em Tôm cũng không hẳn nữa. Em Tôm cũng không biết luôn. Ui sổ mai nó sốc một phát con Kama mất tiêu cả anh em thấy không? Nó chụp lòng nó one shot phát con Kama mất tiêu luôn mà biến mất khỏi bản đồ luôn. Baron đã có cùng với những linh hồn khác của ván thi đấu thì DCG ở thời điểm hiện tại thì họ chỉ việc gọi là vào đập nhà thôi. Cứu kiểu gì bây giờ? Anh em là chơi cộng cứu kiểu gì bây giờ? Cứ fan trừ thôi anh em mà, cặp này cứ fan trừ thôi. Thằng IE kiểu gì nó cũng bán trừ à. Kiểu gì nó cũng bán trừ thôi. Nổ hoa gom được 2 người và dứt điểm nốt 2 thành viên còn lại của IE. Quét sạch. Và move thì sao? Ăn cái chói rồi, vào bắn, tốc biến vào trong trụ luôn. Nhưng nó sẽ là kết thúc với tỷ số 31-8 và kèo đầu tiên về nhà nha anh em nhá. Ok chưa? Về cái trừ nha anh em nhá, về cái trừ nha. Bú đi anh em ơi. Đây anh em ơi, bú cái kèo trừ nha anh em nhá. Đây. Trừ 13.5. Ok anh em ơi, ok anh em ơi. Anh em vào nhóm em Tôm để cái link ghim ở dưới phần bình luận ra nha anh em. Anh em nào tham gia nhóm thì anh em liên hệ qua cái Telegram em Tôm để dưới phần bình luận nha anh em nhé. Nhóm này là nhóm miễn phí anh em ạ, anh em cứ vào thoải mái nhá.
Very good for Inferno Esports. They were ahead, and then 4 of them die for nothing in response after a really well-placed ward around that Baron pit that we see time and time again find a lot of value. Spots out moops in the wrong position, they collapse on him, and then they just rampage through that top tower and take down another 3.
Yeah, all the division. Unfortunately, it was well set up, and it's continuously that bot side Baron pit ward that has just been the bane of teams throughout this competitive season in Southeast Asia. And I mean, you look at the numbers, it's not too bleak until you start getting to the KDA stat line. The damage was pretty even, all said and done. And yeah, I mean, this was it. Moobs not being there means that they've got a massive mismatch in terms of numbers on the top side. Hongzhou is guiding that wave in. And 665 so clean on his positioning. Born this way, walks in, gets caught by Chelsea. 665, look at the damage, forces the crescent sweep out. And then from there, the rest of the team in position. You can see Feng pinching down through that topside river. TP's coming through as well. And Hongzhou had such a game for himself, despite that one death around the mid-tier 2.
Yeah, finds a lot of damage. I haven't seen an Aurora do that amount of damage, I think, ever. Just the straight burst that he was able to land. Chelsea having a rough one on the Nico a lot of the times. He did find some important picks, but this was...
Yeah, this was a bit of an oversight.
I don't know how Hongzhou ends up dying. I mean, he goes in aggressively and just gets completely
knocked up immediately, and yeah, everything in the kitchen sink thrown at him. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty egregious overcommitment into a team like DCG or anyone else potentially that you might come face to face with if you do qualify for the LCP. Those mistakes are going to be brutally punished.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen mistakes like that before, right? The Chiefs that costed them potentially a series, their very first, I believe, of the year, which they could have picked up. And it was, again, a very similar looking Herald that was their undoing. And well, I think this game already had kind of gotten out of hand at this point already for Inferno Esports. I mean, you can still see glimmers of hope. Look at this fight. I mean, Arakan, if ever there's a chance. This objective was doing a lot of damage to DCG's health bars, and Austerity, who's full HP on the Civer. This is kind of the position you'd love to be in. Void Seeker again, so on the mark here for Feng.
Yeah, I mean, Austerity still gets himself 2 here. So it's not like he was completely irrelevant throughout the better portion of this game. In fact, he was one of the few tenuous strengths that held themselves in it for as long as they did.
Now, unfortunately, Weaver's Wall used, but doesn't really get used all for that much. Yeah, another great
dive. 665 just had some crazy flank angles this game as well. He was just always in that slightly off position, coming from the fog of war or from the side to completely route the retreat angle. And yeah,
this is disgusting. If
yeah,
not
so
for the spell shield, Austerity also gets one shot there. Crimson eventually does fall. He only lives because of the Seraphs from the initial burst. And yeah, the game, I mean, I don't think...
From 3 champions to about 40% of 1 by the end of it.
Yeah,
it was kind of absurd, really.
Yeah, the damage that Aurora was doing. We haven't... I mean, we've seen a lot of Aurora, but never an Aurora doing quite as much as Hongzhou was doing there. Now, we are going to go to a break. Once we are back, game number 2, it's DCG leading the series 1-0. We'll see you very shortly.
Breaking hard to outrun all the ones that chase. I can't run fast enough, can't pick up the pace. People run towards love, kamikaze craze. Let's be real, some true love is really just a phase. Heard it all before, y'all just need a score. Don't want it anymore, can't take it no more. Love or I adore, yes and I am sure. Because love is war, over and over, baby.
one line. The line on the stat sheet going up with a timeline. Man, I'm big time. Playoff berth, I'm a midwife. Back to back, I don't win twice. All pro with it like 10 times. What I'm saying. All city, all state, now I'm on a world stage. I took a L, had a turn page. Maxed out, yeah, I'm work wage. I'm on the top with it first place. God got me for real, never burn sage. I just burn flame with it, worst case. Got they hands high like I'm Kirk Frank. It's prime time.
Attack the back line. That's gonna be a double kill for a 30.
It's prime time. It's prime time.
The blossoms fall, and the black rose rises. Do you feel like the heroes of this story? Coming to save the day. You're pawns in a game that's already been decided. You will fight, as good soldiers do.
I will seal you away once more.
Your age has passed, Darkin. Stay buried.
And you will fail, as mortals must. Your course was doomed the moment you left Demacia. And entered my world of thorns. Make your final stand and see how your story ends.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's DCG who rock up and absolutely rock the game as they now lead 1-0, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get any easier from here.
Yeah, no, the reality of the situation is they've kind of got Inferno Esports' number now. We saw that tick over towards the 15-minute mark, and then once they'd sort of clocked Inferno Esports, they knew exactly how to close out that game pretty succinctly. So going into game two, Inferno Esports, and unfortunately, you could see those signs of desperation starting to show themselves. Celeste, it seems, coming in for game two.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. I mean,
it wasn't a bad game from President.
I don't think so either, but I don't know how much you're going to get out of playing just the standard control mages into a team that's so coordinated. I think making things a little bit more spicy, having the likes of those Akalis, those Silases that, you know, you can just randomly find a really nice pick-off onto Feng, onto Hong Shou, can really tip the scales. And honestly, even looking at the series yesterday, I do think that Celeste added more, not necessarily just by being a better player, but those picks in particular make the game a lot more volatile, and I think that's what you really want to look for as Inferno Esports.
Yeah, absolutely. Try and make things a little bit more hectic, offer that chaos that allows you to do a little bit more. But Blue side once again, so they want to get those prior picks, and DCG, like, there's just no way they haven't done their homework, especially with the stakes of this competition. They will know likely what angle Celeste is going for now that he's jumped on stage.
Yeah, I think it should be pretty well known after yesterday, but I mean, I don't think you have to change up too much as the side of DCG. And honestly, Hongsho, he's a player perfectly capable of, if they pick their Carling, well, he can play the Silas. And then you have a pretty even matchup on your hand that comes down to skill. And I mean, Hongsho, a perfectly talented player.
Yeah, I mean, Maple's understudy for a darn good reason for the longest time. So, I mean, this guy is really proved himself already on the stage, just absolutely dominating those mid lane matchups and culminating in what was effectively a 100 to nearly 0 and then 20% for 2 players, effectively off the back of that combo. And the last game is Aurora, but I mean, Austerity as well, for my money, needs something strong here for Inferno Esports. They need something that he can play on to have really impact things. He has been a significant point of strength for this Inferno Esports roster so far in the promo relegations tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm excited to see more out of Inferno Esports, and I really would love to see, again, going to the likes of the Fiora, making it volatile in a different way. I mean, they look perfectly good at playing around it, and LJW as well as a player realized a lot of the time they didn't need to overcommit to come to these team fights, because a lot of the time you see players bring out these split pushing
Và chúng ta cũng đến với game 2 thôi. Ván này EA sẽ tiếp tục bên phía đội xanh, DCG đội đỏ. 3 lực cấm thì nó vẫn vòng vòng mấy cái lực cấm trong meta và thôi, nó cũng không có gì đặc biệt lắm. EA thì Kiana, Galio, Junara. DCG thì ván này cấm Oriana. Asia thì sao? Lượt này thì có cấm hết Lee Sin này. Asia thì em tôi nghĩ là mấy đội nó sida như này chơi con Asia không được đâu. Thằng DCG thì chơi con Asia được. Thằng EA chơi con Asia thì hơi đái. Vẫn quyết định là cấm Asia đến từ DCG. Wow, có kỳ lược chọn đầu luôn.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's a little hard, given that obviously the League of Republica, the likes of the LCP promo wildcard playoffs aren't on GOL, so it is kind of hard to.
Hai lựa chọn đầu tiên cho DCG thì sao?
Sure, through the likes of Liquipedia and Fandom this, but you look at it. You've got games where Zed's played mid lane, TF, but it doesn't quite spell out who exactly is playing. Is it Crimson? Is it Slash? You'd imagine for Zed possibly.
Lucian Javan.
He's been playing recently, but Corky picked up. It's answered by a Javan and.
Cũng gọi là một đội hình đánh khá là early đấy.
Absolutely.
Corky obviously pentakill for Austerity yesterday, and pretty solid pick.
Yeah, and has the mobility against the Javan too, so not feeling too hard done by the pick for himself. And I mean, what are you going to look towards? The Lucian does make you a little bit more scared of the Braum, but playing into it with the Vi pick, I mean, this setting up Chelsea for a perfectly good Braum game so far, but range supports that can come out is really limited to Bard at the moment.
It was amazing in the hands of Mooks.
It was.
As was the Blitzcrank, but I don't think you're showing enough to
có Kiwi.
Rakan comes through.
Có Rakan kẹp một con Vi rừng. DCG lấy Nami hay Brum đường dưới đây. EA nó cầm con Corki thì bạn tự nhiên nó kẹp con Rakan vào, thành ra đội hình của nó yếu vãi ra. Cặp boss nó yếu vãi rồi.
Not necessarily, they don't have to, but it is kind of sticking out as something that makes sense.
No reason not to.
Yeah.
Ambessa
đường trên.
Instead, so now Inferno have that option to ban away the Braum. And I think you'd be well justified in doing so.
As the bans come through, we're looking for possibly support bans would make sense for Inferno Esports towards DCG on the other side of things. Top laners would stick out as probably what you want to ban towards, maybe a Renekton. Obviously, we saw yesterday LJW pretty willing to pick that Renekton into the Ambassador, and while he did fall, it was off the back of some over-aggression that you're not likely to see him fall victim to again.
Jax, Rel. I think Prime just gets crazy value this game, so you don't want DCG having that. Jax was obviously that second game that was played by Inferno Esports. Gwen gonna be taken.
Quên Jack 2 lần cấm cuối cùng cho DCG. Và EA bây giờ chắc còn mỗi con sai ở đường trên để đi kèo với Abessa thôi. Không thì là A chốc. Mà em tôi nghĩ là con A chốc đánh không lại con Abessa.
I mean, Alistair's still available if they really care about the engaged supports, but you haven't even hamstrung them that much by virtue of the Alistair still being up. If they really only want engage, it's still there, but they can just go the Brahmin. It's a perfectly good lane. The Nautilus as well, another option, and it will be a good pick into the likes of the Rakan if they were to want to go towards it.
Alistair, okay. So, yeah, look, far from the end of the world. Silas, okay, so that's why you don't want to pick.
Silas được giữa dành cho Celestial. Và cái lượt cuối cùng thì sao?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like DCG could have picked the Braum, had by far the better draft. They picked the Alistair, and now it's Inferno Esports coming out very
and we saw
much on the
how
upper hand.
clean Celeste Silas was absolutely just ground into the dirt by Kyose's Caitlyn in the mid lane. Still comes out and completely dominates outside of the laning phase.
Titan đứng trên, không nằm ngoài dự đoán lắm.
Alistair AP mid lane, baby. It's still gonna suck, but yeah, Sai on top lane for LJW. That's how they closed out the series. Is that Sai on top pick? So 2 of the 5 champions that help get over the line, and Cassiopeia.
So going for the counter pick in the mid lane, again, I just don't think it matters.
I mean, they literally had a Caitlyn beat down on Celeste.
Alita bỏ Cassiopeia. Hình như là con Cassiopeia của thằng Hong Suo này đợt có một clip solo kill thằng khứa nào đấy thì phải. Tôi nhớ cũng không rõ. Hai bài sau thì lại là bài toán kinh tế thôi. Thì em Tôm có kèo trừ thì em Tôm đập kèo trừ thôi, chứ em Tôm không ngàn lắm đâu anh em mà đập kèo trừ tiếp thôi. Ván này thì trừ nó lên 14 rồi, không sao, vẫn tự tin là đập trừ thôi. Không phải xoắn.
Being that you can't really target down the Alistair because of that ultimate. But unfortunately, I just think this Silas, much the same vein, how are you killing the Silas? Sure, you can somewhat slow him down with that miasma, but he should still have a pretty decent time for himself.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're getting some like crazy synergies out of 665 and Hongtro between the Cataclysm and the miasma, so they just sort of get stuck at the Cataclysm and can't really go anywhere. Other than that, I think you're really going to struggle to lock down the vast majority of this roster, and even then LJW is going to happily just sit there in the middle of everything and tank it all up. Oh, I just noticed something. We've got the Vi skin. Ooh. The T1 Vi coming through. And the Silas too.
Yeah, the Prestige Silas. There's a lot of faker skins in this game these days.
Well, I mean, look, we've got another world champ skin in the Jarvan.
Was it the Fnatic?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. The Fnatic world skin that came out after the which one was it?
Rồi chúng ta cùng đến với ván thi đấu thứ 2 của cặp đối đầu giữa EA và DCG trong cái khuôn khổ giải đấu LCP Promotion năm 2026. Vâng, đây là skin của Honor. Và đây cũng là skin của Faker. Rất quen thuộc. Ui rồi tốc biến rồi. Cái này đảo đường à? Anh em nhìn lên trên top kìa, anh em cái gì vậy? Anh em nhìn lên trên top kìa, cái gì đây? Hả? 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 Cái gì vậy anh em? Rồi xong rồi lại tele xuống bot. Hết cứu. Cái quần vì cái quần gì nó vừa mới xảy ra đấy nhờ. Sao lại đứng ở trên cái bụi đấy xong rồi lại tele về. Cái này gọi là gì nhỉ anh em nhờ? Thì theo ý đồ của em Tôm thì em Tôm nghĩ là con Sion nó đọc là con Abesa nó sẽ có một pha chây. Ở cấp 1 thì con Sion đứng đấy tính là nó nện một phát xong rồi nó tele xuống bot lấy lợi thế đi đường cho con Corki. Cái lợi thế về máu để chắn mấy cái áp lực cấp 2, cấp 3. Thì em Tôm đoán là như vậy, nhưng mà cái ý đồ nó fail mất rồi anh em ạ. Thì đây, lao lên chay một nhịp thì anh em có thể thấy là máu của con Corki nó mất cũng tương đối là khá nhiều. Corki cầm kiếm Doran không có khả năng hồi phục. Thì bắt buộc là phải bấm bình sớm thôi. Ambessa thì có khiên Doran, có quyền năng. Ngọn gió thứ hai là các thứ thì hồi phục của nó sẽ tốt hơn rất là nhiều so với Corki. Đảo như này là IE toan đấy. Đảo như này IE dễ toan lắm. Lát nữa thằng Flauren nó solo kill được trên cho xem. Tầm level 3, level 4 thôi là con Ambessa nó dư sức nó đánh với mấy con AD trên top rồi. Không nhất thiết là phải level 6 đâu. Level 3, level 4 là thấy chơi đam đường với mấy con AD đi top rồi. Chơi vài nhịp xong về. Con Ambessa thì nó có hồi phục mà có mấy con AD thì nó không có. Thành ra là mấy con AD nó chỉ chơi dựa bằng thế lính thôi. Nó không đẩy được lính là cũng khó chơi với kèo Ambessa lắm. Vâng, chúng ta có một nhịp đảo lại rồi đến từ DCG. Qua 3 phút đi đường thì đảo lại. Hai đánh 2. Không. Nó là 2 đánh 3 nhỉ. Benji, ủa. Không đầu tư chả. Con Vi nó không đầu tư tốc biến ha. Jisoo bị đánh mất khá nhiều máu. Bộ đôi của DCG nó muốn câu giờ cho thằng Vi nó ở lại lâu hơn một chút. Chỉ là đứng lại đánh 23 luôn. Tốc biến đầu tư nhắm thẳng vào vị trí của con Corki, nhưng quả này con bò đi hơi xa rồi. Benji gỡ được 1. Anh ta ở lại bắn luôn. Vẫn còn tốc biến. Wow, bắn xong mạng thứ 3 tốc biến đi, đắc thắng hồi lại màu nhưng vẫn phải nằm xuống. Ta không hit run nhỉ? À đúng rồi, pha đấy không có mắt. Không có mắt để cắm vào cái bụi thì phải đứng trong bụi để lấy tầm nhìn bắn thôi. Không hit and run được. Pha này thì DCG lời hơn nhiều. 2 mạng cho AD câu được rất nhiều thời gian của cái thằng rừng nữa. Chung lời hơn là rõ rồi. Không biết là pha vừa rồi quay lính đánh xong thì quay lính nó có đẹp không? Nếu mà quay lính đẹp nữa thì quá lời luôn. Rakan thì không đẩy lính được nên là pha vừa rồi hai thằng kia chết thì con mình con Rakan à. Đứng im luôn, đứng im đánh xong phát cuối tốc biến ra. Quay lính đẹp nha. Quay lính này đẹp cho IE. Đẹp cho DCG chứ. Ôi thôi xong rồi. Một quả lao lên chay ngáo nhót luôn thêm thằng support nữa. Còn Lucian đã có mạng thứ 3 trong ván thi đấu này rồi. Má năng 3 mạng sớm như này thì chết em anh em ơi. Chết. Chết mấy con vợ IE đấy. Một tình huống tốc biến ma thuật san tường, combo thẳng vào và đánh được cái E trong cái nhịp nó lướt cái E2 về. Giải. Bây giờ là nhịp đồng đầu tiên.
Is vulnerable now, of course, to a Vi gank, and as Born This Way gets closer to level 6, has to be wary. Oh no. Doesn't even need the level 6.
Đường giữa thì bắt thành công được Hong Sugo. Tỷ số đã được cân bằng là 3 đều.
Scoreline now, but gold's still 1k in favor of DCG.
Oh, I still think that's a bit of a rough one. And yeah, look, we've had junglers that pick those kills up and do a lot of work. I think realistically, Celeste desperately needed to be the one to get that kill. Oh, born this way as well, deep.
Yeah, Chelsea looking for him. Moops comes through to buy him some time, and Born This Way will find safe passage out.
Not quite yet.
Has level 6 though. He's looking to maybe look aggressively. Just going to get knocked up here. A lot of damage going to come through from Feng, but no culling. It's going to be turned around upon. LJW trying to find his way in as well to assist his jungler. Decimating smash.
Có màn không? Tốc biến nó được đầu tư. Em tôi thấy là đánh cặp này nó hơi chán một tí anh em ạ. Không có bài bản lắm. Cứ thấy nhau là va được là va thôi. Đường giữa anh em coi thằng Silas nó thua bao nhiêu lính kìa anh em. Silas thua gần một nửa luôn. Con Vi trong rừng thua cũng 15 CS, đường trên thua 10. Chỉ có hai con AD là ngang nhau. Con Silas đi với con Cassiopeia ngợp điên. Kèo thì là kèo counter. Đã thế còn bị ao trình nữa anh em. Khó nói chứ.
It's a slightly quieter game here for 665, but he is very much the king of tempo when it comes to this promo Relos tournament.
Yeah,
always finds himself in the perfect spot on the perfect flank.
So far up in terms of that CS in the jungle, although because of the kills coming through, it is actually Born This Way ahead in gold. Looks to take away the blue buff from 665. Chelsea maybe trying to defend it, not likely to be able to do so.
Oh, he's a problem. He's a real problem.
Trúc rừng thành công. Mà có vẻ như là sẽ lui về được luôn.
So there's unfortunately going to have to be okay. So it's into the Moops in a pit getting caught. We've seen this before. Luckily, he's a little bit slipperier.
Celeste not having that pressure ease up on him anytime soon. As he comes into these team fights, should be a little bit stronger. Going for the Rod of Ages as well. A safer build, lower damage, but gives him a little bit of an added survivability. Not that this game is lacking.
There's going to be that Rod of Ages build for Hongshuo as well. So Seraph Saroa. LJW just sitting and watching the minions smack each other. Oh, there you go, fighting. Celeste actually comes out on top.
A very good trade for him, but again, Hongshuo, he gets up that, finishes up the minion wave. We'll be able to look for that recall now. Catalyst should be picked up by him.
Tạm ngừng đánh nhau. Mục tiêu thì bên đội 1 họ bỏ hết luôn em ạ. Combo kỳ kích san nhưng mà không thấy có bùa xanh. Má nó còn 1 chấm máu mà thôi, nhanh hơn 1 giây nữa là có mạng rồi. Ở đâu nhanh hơn 1 giây nữa là có bùa rồi. Đâu giờ con Vi nó chưa có trừng phạt.
This way, Triforce first, which not necessarily the path we often see. Usually it's Sundered Sky first. And
yeah, I mean, Livy goes this build. I think it's.
Má đường giữa không ai đép trụ, mất 2 trên trụ luôn ạ. Macro cái gì thế này? LCK ít khi nào mà nó để cho mấy cái trụ đường giữa mất máu nhanh lắm nha. Trụ đường giữa mà mất máu nhanh là nó xảy ra nhiều cái tai hại lắm.
Yeah, it could be a deviation of Black Cleaver first, but it is assuredly going to be a part of the kit. Oh, it's collapse time.
I'm sure. Đánh rất an toàn. Ta ngửi cái mùi gì đấy nó không được hay ho lắm. Vì vậy là chủ động lui về luôn, đợi đồng đội tới thì bắt đầu là chạy ra lên lại.
Close game here. 1k is the advantage for the side of DCG, but not the most meaningful 1k.
It's mostly in the hands of Feng.
Yeah, very much so.
Trong nguyên tố thứ hai.
First to it and we'll be able to take it out. 65 not really even thinking of contesting, so we'll be evening up that dragon score.
Rồi vào đánh rồi. Chiêu cuối quăng đấp ra. Ui rồi ôi, combo kỳ kết hất 3 người thêm cái hóa đá nữa. Bon this way nằm xuống. Celeste sẽ là người kẹt lại nhưng mà có bất khuất của bò. Hắn quyết công khai vào chính con Rakan ở phía sau, ăn full bảo đạn đến từ Celeste. E2 quay ngược lại và lên bảng điểm số với màn double kill cho Ambessa của Flauren. Corki phía dưới gỡ được một. Một đổi 3 cho DCG. Ambessa có thêm 2 mạng. Ôi, mấy con carry nó ăn được mạng là xong đấy. Mẹ nó cứ nhường vào mấy con carry thế này toàn. Trong khi đó thì IE mạng của nó chỉ đúng được 1 mạng là cho con carry là con Corki thôi. 4 mạng, 3 mạng kia còn lại đều là những cái vị trí nó không quan trọng lắm, chủ yếu là mấy vị trí làm nền. Một cái combo kỳ kích trúng 3 thêm cái hóa đá nữa. Ui trời ơi. Nhót. Hiện tại thì ở phía ngoài cũng có đánh nhau nữa rồi này. Giữ chân được ai đây, bò lao lên. Bất khuất vẫn đang còn hất tung lên nhưng mất máu là rất nhiều rồi nha. Corki bắn hụt tốc biến bắn thêm một cái nữa và có được mạng dứt điểm. Hong Suo vẫn đàn lao lên. Bon this way tốc biến quy vào. Nhưng mà Fenchi cũng tới hạ gục được Bon this way. Một chi W ở đằng sau cũng nằm xuống. Corki đổi mạng tốt nhưng bây giờ thì đường về nhà của anh ta khá xa. Triple kill đã có cho Fenchi rồi. Và con cóc. Con cóc nó khạt chết. Hải điên. Con cóc nó khạt chết ở đây vãi nồi. Cười chết mấy thằng Philippines này anh em ơi.
Oh, that's very rough. The austerity though, quietly picking himself up a few kills. Fing of course picking himself up a plethora. Now 6-1.
Has the same number of kills as Inferno Esports on his lonesome.
Xem lại tình huống trước đó thì con Sion này có một pha nó đứng rừng này đó tắm với 1 chấm mana, nó xài được đúng cái ulti xong nó hết mana này mà vãi cả nồi. Thì DCG dồn người tới và họ khởi động giao tranh luôn. Mặc dù là 2 đánh 3, 3 đánh 3, gì 3 đánh 4 nhưng họ vẫn đánh được. Trong cái nhịp mà xử lý 3 đánh 4 thì đồng đội cũng đã tới và có luôn những cái mạng tiếp theo. Combo kỳ kích của Chavan cũng là rất tốt. Lucian pha này nó bắn được thêm 3 mạng triple kill. Né hất tung hơi tệ nhưng mà nó có triple kill. Pha này thì bật E lên bắn vào con cóc một cái, sau đó thì đánh hạt không nổ. Con cóc nó lao theo. Thế là con cóc nó khạt chết luôn. Mấy ông nội ông cười. Mẹ bán độ còn cười nữa mấy thằng này. Đấy rồi. Fenchi, cái mạng shutdown rất nhiều tiền trên đầu của Fenchi nhưng không ai ăn được cả. Và đó là mạng thứ 7 dành cho Fenchi. Nỗ lực cố gắng là có, nhưng thật sự là nó không quá hiệu quả. Ở phía dưới Flauren có khoảng trống để lấy thêm trụ đầu toàn bán đồ. Và anh ta cũng đã cầm rất nhiều tiền rồi. Bán thì phải vui chứ, đúng rồi. Vui vui nhìn cho nó giống không bán. 11-6 là tỷ số hiện tại cho DCG. Ao tận 6k vàng ở thời điểm phút thứ 15. Vẻ như là 3-0 thôi. Nhìn là biết 3-0 rồi. Tôm bắt luôn là 3-0.
It looks like it's possibly prepped here. Tier 1 is all but certainly going to go down. I mean, you look at it. Look how close this gets. Moves. The damage coming out onto Fang.
Chúng ta xem lại tình huống trước đó thì Fenchi. À không, bây giờ thì có tình huống tiếp theo rồi. Bon this way lại là người bị kẹt nhưng Hong Suo đang bị dồn đam. Anh ta lên bản rồi, chụp lồng trúng tận 3 người và Lucian Anja đen của Fenchi tới bắn liên tục làm màn dành cho Fenchi, lướt qua tường và có luôn triple kill. 2 đổi 4 dành cho DCG. Lucian nó vào nó Việt bắn thôi. Chavan úp lồng làm hết rồi. Hàn quyết công khai vào. Cancel bằng cú R tốt nhưng mà không né được Q2 và cũng bị solo kill. Và đó là cú quét sạch. 16-8 cho DCG. Thêm 8 mạng nữa. 8 mạng nữa anh em, 8 mạng nữa. Thêm 7 mạng chứ. 7 mạng nữa là xong game. Ông Xua bọc đầu phía sau thì thằng Múp nó vào nó dồn đam cùng với cái R. Nhưng mà khúc sau thì cái chụp lồng của con Chavan đẹp quá anh em ơi, nó chụp toàn bộ đội hình của IE lúc thời điểm đấy luôn. Và không còn thằng nào còn lướt để nó chạy hết anh em. Triple kill, phía dưới thì solo kill thôi. Hàn quyết công khai vào và có một pha gọi là muốn gọi là Quy không lướt, đánh thường xong Q2 về. Không R vào. Có một cú R cancel ngược lại nhưng mà con Amesa nó không trúng cái R đấy nè. Không biết tại sao. Cái úp lồng ngoài nhốt ra có tác dụng gì nữa không em Tôm á? Em Tôm thấy là không. Ngoài úp lồng gây thêm được sát thương với lại là nhốt mấy con vợ nó vào thì hết tác dụng rồi. Thì cái lồng này nó sẽ rất là mạnh đối với mấy con mà tù không có chiêu lướt ấy. Thề luôn con Chavan nó khó chịu quá rồi. Mấy con mà không có lướt mà không có tốc biến nó chụp vào phát là đứng chỏng luôn. Không làm được mẹ gì hết. Ôi cái gì đây? Ôi sứ giả được mở ra. Chụp lồng phát xong rồi thì chết. Frenchy lái sứ giả tốc biến quăng vào. Bây giờ thì Flauren tới bơi. Adventure Assemble. Sát thương gần như là một chiều. Hàn quyết công khai thẳng vào vị trí của Sion luôn. Tiếp tục bơi. Và Sion chắc chắn là cũng sẽ nằm xuống. 11-9. Chính xác hơn là 29 cho DCG. Gap mạng là 11. Quyết thêm cái quét sạch nữa về cái trừ nốt là xong. Hết game. GG. Thứ giả hút thêm cái nữa. Ý giải ai. À không, nó không có trừng phạt. Combo thẳng vào luôn mà anh em. Combo EW thẳng vào luôn mà. Cắm cờ chắc tự nhìn thì không. EW thẳng vào luôn. Ác quỷ. Ác quỷ anh em ạ. Muốn là rất kinh. Team bạn đông quá. Nói chung thì nó cũng đoán được, em tôi nghĩ là nó cũng đoán được là bọn IE đứng trong cái bụi đấy rồi. Nhưng mà không ngờ là đông như vậy. Thôi mở thêm cái nữa không? Đàn kẹp góc vào, tốc biến hất được 2 đến từ bò. Amesa vào bơi, Rakan cũng bơi ngược lại. Hàn quyết công khai copy được sử dụng nhưng sát thương của IE gần như là không có. Ông Xua bọc đầu phía sau và là quét sạch cho bên phía của DCG mà thôi. Flauren xài luôn cái Hàn quyết công khai thẳng vào con Sion cái bóng của nó luôn ạ. 25-9. Gap 16 mạng và có vẻ như là kết thúc ván thi đấu luôn. Còn 10 giây nữa thì Múp mới xuất hiện, có thể là anh ta sẽ ra fit nốt mạng cuối cùng. Và nếu như câu đủ thời gian thì có thể là câu thêm cho Corki, Silas, Vi rồi các thứ ra, nó fit thêm một cái nữa. Rakan ra rồi. W ra câu hay không đây? W ra câu thời gian thì ngay lập tức là anh ta nhấn dịch chuyển để fit. Bên này thì IE cũng lao ra luôn fit nốt chứ còn gì nữa. Rồi, chơi. 20 phút xong game. Không cần Baron. Nó khủng khiếp hơn cả đánh ranh nữa anh em ạ. Ao chừng quá anh em ơi. Về nha anh em nhá, kèo về nhá. Kèo về nha anh em. Em Tôm bảo rồi, em Tôm spam kèo trừ nha anh em nhá. Đây game 2 trừ 14.5 về nha anh em. Game 1 về, game 2 về. Rồi nhá, lại phải bú rồi. Lại phải bú thôi anh em. Anh em nào vào nhóm thì link Telegram em Tôm để dưới phần bình luận cho anh em tham gia rồi nha anh em nhé. Anh em cứ liên hệ qua đấy em Tôm cho anh em nha anh em. Tham gia nhóm qua cái đường link Tele em Tôm để dưới phần bình luận nha anh em ơi.
Just the cerebral gameplay out of DCG, they're constantly sending it in as a 4v5 and then suddenly someone's coming out from a flank position and catching those crucial carries on the back line. 24,000 damage, it doesn't seem like a lot, but given that it was a 21-minute game, potentially the fastest we've seen in that arena this year. I think it is actually, yeah.
I think so.
By a good couple of minutes.
You'd be pretty hard-pressed to beat the 20-minute mark, as Baron, in the past, 20-minute games weren't too uncommon, being that the Baron spawned at the 20-minute mark, but now that it spawns at 25, very rarely will a game end before it, but with just how far ahead Feng got, made the game wholly unplayable.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, unfortunately for Inferno Esports, I think if they just weathered the early game storm, they had such a good composition here up against what was shown from DCG, but again, you can only get so far through picks and bans if one team is just performing on a different level to you.
Đúng rồi, giờ cho em Tôm vào team DCG ấy, thì may ra là IE nó còn win. Sợ là em Tôm vào nó thua nhanh hơn ấy.
I mean, realistically, yeah, he blows the flash at the end of this series of play, but I mean, he doesn't really get punished for it at any point beyond this, and he gets himself some big kills, and just the audacity.
I can't believe this ends up in a 2-for-2.
Yeah.
I thought Shao C had lost his mind.
Yeah, I mean, just the sheer audacity of the spot lane duo of DCG can be nothing but commended.
Absolutely.
Fighting spirit of the Filipinos.
Oh man, they battle.
Oh, yeah, and unfortunately
this was a good fight for Inferno Esports too, but unfortunately just sticks around a little bit too long.
And the lack of Celeste. If Celeste is there, that fight looks drastically different, I would imagine. And unfortunately, he's just too busy dealing with Florian.
Feng arrives on that janitor duty, cleans up as well as you could ever hope for. Again, Austerity, very, very good Corky player. Unfortunately, using the Gatling gun was his demise.
Yeah. And confirmed, the fastest game in the arena by 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's well clear.
23:37, and it was SHG versus Talon. And yeah, I mean, look, unfortunately, it gets to a point where there is just that much power behind this DCG roster that there's only so much you can do. And until Feng joins that fight, it is looking incredibly competitive. And then Feng shows up, and to be fair, this was 665 losing his mind. But it still turns around. They absolutely are able to capitalize.
He actually did the same thing on the Jarvan against QT Dig, if you remember, over the Dragon Wall.
Yeah, unfortunately just the public execution after public execution from Florian was so on the money. But I mean, that is not just because it, has a very comfortable lane against Silas, but just the problematic nature of that miasma coming out of the Cassiopeia here means that none of these mobility skills work, means that they're just stuck in the thick of everything. And yeah, look at it, suddenly Hong So's on the back line, finds an angle onto Austerity, and he's just done. Gets the petrifying gaze onto Moops as well. They literally are looking like they could very well be an LCP team.
They very much are, but of course they've still got to get this series done and dusted. We are going to go to a break. Once we're back, we'll see if DCG can finish it off 3-0 or will Inferno Esports fight back to try and make this a series.
Working hard to outrun all the ones that chase. I can't run fast enough, can't pick up the pace. People run towards love, kamikaze craze. Let's be real, some true love is really just a face. Heard it all before, y'all just need a score. Don't want it anymore, can't take it no more. Love or I adore, yes and I am sure. Because love is war, over and over, baby.
Running up with a timeline, man, I'm big time. Playoff berth, I'm a midwife. Back to back, I don't win twice. All pro with it like 10 times. What I'm saying. All city, all state, now I'm on a world stage. I took a L, had a turn page. Maxed out, yeah, I'm work wage. I'm on the top with it first place. God got me for real, never burn sage. I just burn flame with it, worst case. Got they hand tied like I'm Kirk Frank. It's prime time.
Attack the back line. That's gonna be a double kill for a 30.
It's prime time. It's prime time.
The blossoms fall, and the black rose rises. Do you feel like the heroes of this story? Coming to save the day. You're pawns in a game that's already been decided. You will fight, as good soldiers do.
I will seal you away once more.
Your age has passed, Darkin. Stay buried.
And you will fail, as mortals must. Your course was doomed the moment you left Demacia. And entered my world of thorns. Make your final stand and see how your story ends.
And we are one game away from figuring out who it will be for going up against the Chiefs tomorrow. Quite potentially, I mean, DCG, it does almost feel like a foregone conclusion, but I mean, the one benefit Inferno Esports have is that they are very willing to fight, and if they just find a couple of those good angles again, maybe play it slightly more crisp, they could find themselves in a good position.
Absolutely. I mean, DCG just have it on lock, it seems. It would, I think, take something a little bit out of left field for Inferno Esports to push this to a game 4, but I mean, maybe that is how they do it. They just throw something completely wild at DCG.
Substitution.
Okay, so it is going to be Hongzhou out and Zhao Zhang coming in, the sub for DCG. Look, to be fair, I mean, you kind of have it in the bag at this point. And he's an incredibly young-looking player, I'll give him that.
Yeah, very much so. He's going to come in, get his opportunity now.
Yeah, he's been with this team the same amount of time as everyone else. They all joined January 24th this year, so.
Come in, have his opportunity now to play for DCG in their promotion opportunity. Obviously, we'll have to take down the Chiefs tomorrow, but in a pretty good position and looking quite strong. 17 years old.
A future Hong Q, maybe.
Very possibly. If Lolpedia is to be believed, his favorite champ is Aurelion Sol.
Hongyu did pull that out of the bag to make sure that he got himself a spot at MSI. So crazy things. Well, he first seeded MSI really. No, was it PSG?
No.
It was PSG Talon they versed, yeah. So that grand final. So get the spot. Either way, it was in that tail end of the bracket. Regardless, and maybe look, bring something fun out. I mean, realistically,
maybe
you've got nothing to lose here for DCG. I think realistically, they've shown that they've got the discipline. They will just absolutely shut it out here, but. Limit testing, maybe going into tomorrow, try something a little bit funky.
Yeah, I mean, you never know when you're going to want to use your substitute, right? I mean, a lot of teams in the LCP making good use of their subs. So maybe DCG, with aspirations of once again making it to that league, giving us our third PCS team, it would be trying to get some of that stage experience early. It would bode well for them, especially if he is able to pick up that win.
Okay, then it would make for an interesting situation. So it'd be the PCS majority. Oh no,
it would be 3-3.
Yeah.
Would have.
Yeah. Okay. So there would be one way or the other. Whichever team had the majority going into that world spot at the end of next year would be the one that guaranteed avoids the regional merit. Either way, end of draft for game number 3. Lee Sin, Nocturne, Akali banned out by DCG. And Kiana Ari Yunara banned out by Inferno Esports. So Born This Way being targeted somewhat as is Celeste.
Và ok, chúng ta cũng đến với ván 3. Để xem nào, DCG thay người rồi, Hong Suo không còn đánh cho đường giữa nữa mà là Sao Xiêng. Ok. Bên phía IE thì cái line up của họ vẫn như vậy thôi. Ba lực cấm Junara, Ari, Kiana. DCG lần lượt là Lee Sin, Nocturne và Akali. Lựa chọn đầu tiên của họ lấy luôn Oriana đường giữa dành cho Sao Xiêng. Game này IE có thể lấy Asia này. Nautilus đường dưới cho Boop. Con Zone này là con Zone đi mid nha. Đây là con Zone đi mid.
To see a Maokai from Born This Way, if you know tradition rears its ugly head, I wouldn't hate to see it.
Yeah, it's probably not looking for it if you're 665.
No, I think 665 probably should be happy with either the Oriana or the Trundle. This time he does go for. Sorry, I was meaning Pantheon, but he goes for the Trundle. I mean, not the. I think Pantheon might just be the better champ, personally.
Yeah. But I think just the natural synergies are there. Plus, you're looking for Maokai in the jungle. That's a pretty easy subjugate target.
Yeah, other than he'll probably be AP, so it won't actually be a good subjugate target.
No, it just means that if he goes in, he's pretty much just dead to rights straight away. I mean, realistically, there's no reason for it not to be. Yeah, no, you're definitely not going Sejuani with a Trundle.
Yeah, I mean. Honestly, I think people.
Trundle và cái chắc đường trên. Nautilus kẹp cùng với xây ra.
It's good into the Trundle. It's good into the Jacks as far as AD carries come.
Để xem nào. Đội hình IE cũng tương đối là nhiều sát thương. Nhưng mà chưa có cái lane nào là cao tới pick hết.
Against the Xayah really limits the maneuverability in the fights for that champion, but it is going to be picked up here for Austerity, and he has played very well.
Đường trên thì sao đây?
These wildcard promotional tournaments, so I do have faith in him to be able to make it work, but I think there are better options.
Absolutely, Jin. I mean,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Jin Israel kind of just nothing bans realistically.
Yeah, I mean it is hard for Xayah to lane against them, so that is the reasoning. But yeah, I mean, you just take any other AD carry and you're still fine. If you really care about the
Lilia cùng với Ren sẽ là hai lực cấm cuối cho DCG. Và IE thì là Ari Junara. À không, Edreal chưa hin mới đúng. Lựa chọn tiếp theo cho IE.
haven't got a huge sample size to work with from him.
So, looking towards a top laner and a jungler here.
Lấy cái gì bây giờ?
Inferno Esports. Gonna go for the
Wow,
chase.
JC đường trên để đi với Jack cơ. Tay to nha bro.
No massive winners. Although obviously
Đây là kèo đi đường.
can be a little bit annoying for the Jax. He does deal with it relatively well.
Yeah, he kind of shrugs it off and goes team fight time and just does the counter-strike thing. You're going to have plenty of synergistic setups for him between the Pillar of Ice and Command Dissonance, just allowing him to run faster. Yeah, I mean, look, DCG in the first round have clearly won this.
Hai con Chelsea bây giờ đi với con Jack mạnh vãi ra. Đợt vừa rồi nó nấp con nó book con Chelsea thêm 20 đam cái Wii đầu tiên đấy. Bây giờ con Chelsea mà nó gặp mấy kèo mà nó Wii trúng là má đam to vãi ra. Raven đường dưới cho DCG ạ. Wow. Căng nhập pro.
An even matching support matchup as well. Last pick to come through in this jungle role for Inferno Esports, unless we get into some funky business with the Nautilus jungle. Of course, changes made to make
Maokai
comes through. It's what you'd expect. You do need AP to come.
Maokai rừng, Zone mid, JC top.
Only about
not enough. It's worth really talking about.
Yeah.
Cái ván này nhìn nó vẫn là quá khó chơi cho EA. Gặp bot Raven như này thì em Tôm mạnh dạn làm cái tài kill.
I mean, it's also going to mitigate somewhat the Trundle subjugate for him as a target. I mean, your best one, I mean, realistically, first is whoever gets caught by DCG, and then the next is whoever's the bulkiest if it comes to a team fight situation. Even then, you just go for the target you want to blow up first, make them as squishy as possible, and it's just gone. Realistically, there's no banned targets this game because there's just no evident target.
Yeah, I mean, it's more like there's no good target, so everyone's just a target.
Yeah.
Maybe Jace, when he's in his hammer form, has the most resistances potentially.
DCG.
More DCG fans. Not really do anyone surprised. Skin game this time, I believe, going the way of Inferno Esports. Supports matching on their default skins, but the Meowkai really pulling this one out of the bag.
Yeah, I think, not gonna lie, if anyone that deserves to join the Dunk Master skin line, Oriana feels like it has to be her, right?
No, because her ball comes from underneath you. And dunking necessarily comes from above.
His street baller's classic move is, you know, stringing it through your legs
anh em.
like a goofball.
Yeah, but that's not a dunk. That's throwing a ball.
No. It's all about the love of the game.
I think.
Và được rồi, chúng ta cùng đến với ván thi đấu thứ 3. Và có vẻ như cũng là ván thi đấu cuối cùng của cặp đấu này rồi. Đội xanh cho DCG và EA bên phía đội đỏ, mặc dù là ván trước DCG họ thắng nha. EA trực tiếp là nhường luôn đội xanh cho DCG để lấy bao pick Oriana đứng giữa. Và ván này thì Giao Xiên đi kèo với lại Zone. Một kèo mà con Zone nó sẽ bán máu rất nhiều ở giai đoạn đi đường. Và DCG vận hành chiến thuật đảo đường ở ván này, cho Raven đi top với Chelsea. Căng nha. 3 game đều vận hành cái chiến thuật đảo đường. Khó chịu điên. Quá là khó chịu.
Oh, fight time.
Side step in the Bramble smash. It's going to come down to a smite fight. At best, on this way, not seemingly willing to give over then. Oh, yeah. Very indecisive, is going to set him quite far behind.
Dumb game anyway, didn't want to play it. Yeah, unfortunate.
Very star Pacific 5 now. Is going to be very well aware of where this Maokai is, and will be a lot quicker to finish up his clear, give him quite a lot of free time on the rift.
Absolutely. At this stage, nothing. Okay, there's just fighting going up in the top lane. LJW's Shoved it under the
Đường
tower.
trên con Raven nó đè nát đường con Chasey luôn em mà. Kèo này all in thì chắc chắn là con Raven thắng ha. Cầm cái rìu xoay một rìu nó là tầm đâu đấy 100 đam hơn. Nếu mà con Chasey này nó cầm dạng pháo ấy, một rìu xoay của nó là 100 đam hơn đấy nhá. Không đùa nữa em, 100 đam hơn thật đấy. Ok. Con support. Support solo kill à? Dưới boss nó solo kill kìa. AD, IE solo kill. Wow. Đâu để xem nào. Cái boss solo kiểu gì đây? Nhảy lên đánh luôn bật E. Ăn cái rút lông E2 choán xong rồi đánh tiếp luôn à? Ôi đánh tiếp luôn. Xong rồi nhảy về. Đánh thử một cái quy tốc biến đánh thường. Ôi trời ơi. Beautiful. Quá đẹp. Không cướp được bùa đỏ rồi, tốc biến chạy luôn. Nhìn ông Mao Cai này ông hèn điên này, bị cướp hết vòng rừng rồi. Bây giờ không còn rừng để farm luôn. GG bro. GG.
Sticking around at the Raptor camp for as long as he did has put him in this position where he is just very far behind on tempo, and 665 completely controlling the jungle.
Đấy bây giờ rung cái trừ là đẹp rồi nên em. Bây giờ rung cái DCG trừ 13.5 mà đẹp rồi đó. Trừ nó xuống sau khi mất mạng chiến đầu thì xuống 2 kill rồi. Bây giờ vào là đẹp. DCG họ di chuyển liên tục với hỗ trợ đi cướp rừng. Con Mao Cai nãy giờ là nó mất full vòng rừng hai anh em. Con Mao Cai nó khổ lắm rồi, game này nó không ăn được rừng luôn. Nó mất toàn bộ vòng rừng anh em ạ. Rừng có bao nhiêu là mất hết. Đau khổ chưa. Em tôm thấy đau khổ vãi nồi rồi đấy. Mất sạch toàn bộ vòng rừng luôn.
An Oceanic solo queue, it's not that uncommon to see Bather and King Jax, although not that great of a build. Well, in saying that, I built it once, I was against a Scion.
Yeah, it used to be the go-to. Bather and King first, you just smacked the living heck out of everyone.
Well, that was back when it had an active as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss those days. You used to build it on Z2 because it amplified the damage of your ult. 665.
Đường xưa thì cũng có những tình huống đặt cột bắn ra và Celeste phải mức tốc biến rồi. Cũng không ngạc nhiên lắm.
Okay. All right, buddy. Triple long sword. 665, the Rowan Zoro build.
Và như vậy là sẽ có rồng đầu cho bên phía DCG. Những cái nhịp đánh đầu game nó cũng không có gì đặc biệt lắm, cũng giống như mấy ván trước mà thôi.
Especially with the implementation of base card.
Yeah, except that it was Chelsea teleporting from mid lane to just outside the Baron pit. Oh dear. Dragon taken, number 1 on the card to DCG.
Have to consistently keep tabs on this Draven, the stacks, if he's able to cash them in, sitting at 120 at the moment.
Level 6 online as well, the Welling Death going to be there and available to try and impact globally.
That execute as well builds up, of course, as each stack comes through.
Oh, Draven. What a person. Oh, okay, they both just missed. Happy to just handshake the whiff.
Yeah, I mean, lane swap, as far as that's concerned, has benefited Inferno Esports, but 665 has done a great job of controlling the jungle, which is why we see a slight advantage in gold for DCG. Much the same as Oriana ahead of the Yone, which is fairly typical, the range versus melee matchup. At the very highest level of play, quite often the Yone is even, but just 1 HP consistently.
Yeah. But always looking at try and limit test. I mean, the important thing now for Born This Way is hit 6, get that Nature's Grasp online.
I almost don't mind the fact that Celeste is less willing to trade his HP for farm, and the virtue of how often random fights have been breaking out.
Yeah, absolutely. Not wanting to give over unnecessary advantages.
Và 3 sao đầu tiên. Tiếp tục là bỏ mục tiêu đến từ bên phía IE. 3 ván liền, không ván nào họ ăn được mấy mục tiêu đầu trận hết. 3 ván đều bỏ hết mục tiêu anh em ạ.
I mean, it is very different pacing to the LCP, where teams will get in, it's a drive by, get the first scrub, and then back off, see what happens.
Yeah. Preferring the tempo and keeping up that XP and gold. I mean, the Void Grubs, at least to me, feel like a bit of a nothing objective a lot of the time.
Yeah, compared
if you do get all three, they are very strong, and admittedly they did. Nature's Grass coming through.
Quyền lực thiên nhiên bắt choáng chúng, có quay tay phản đòn, nhưng đó sẽ là màn thứ hai cho IE. Có vẻ như là ván này là ván đầu tiên mà DCG chết kèo trừ. Có thể thôi. Có thể thôi nhá, có thể thôi, có thể thôi.
The observers doing us rough, or doing LJW rough.
Completely unintentionally too. That is League of Legends timing at its finest. But yeah, I mean, Austerity, even that series against Saving Oaths was such a linchpin to their success. You've gone and talked about how Celeste is keeping his HP nice and high, not trading it farm, and then just eats half his HP bar.
Yeah, but still, I mean, a lot higher than we typically see the
Oh, yeah. And then we see Hongkyu, even though he's on 200 and a bit HP, turn around and drop the Fate Seal. Because he's just that guy.
Alright. Mid lane is a thing.
Oh, debated.
Bên này ăn kéo, bật rờ chơi luôn, cột băng được dựng lên. Có tốc biến đến từ Move nhưng bị giữ lại rồi. Và Fenchi kích được nội tại đầu tiên của ván đấu. Một cái hủ phải nói là hơn 600 vàng thì phải. Nó to bằng cái màn shutdown luôn ạ. Wow.
Going to be used for Zhao Zhang, but Celeste actually not feeling too hard done by.
Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't have the ultimate himself.
Chào going to fall too. This is a disaster.
Played blades.
Maybe needs to be a little bit
that's
more
what happened. He drops the ult, try and look for an angle. Does connect actually.
Mất luôn trụ đầu ở khu vực đường trên. Tức là tiền nó sẽ là rất nhiều sau cái tình huống này nhá.
11-minute tower for Feng, who is now away and clear.
Maybe looking again for Flora, and he's been targeted last couple of plays. Nature's Grasp is there if they wanted to try, and there's no one looking to help at all. Oh, moops. You show that wall what's what, pal.
Ooh. Yeah, not a bad chunk of damage on the return to lane. The Blackfire Torch getting some value already.
Absolutely.
665 coming in to claim his lane tax.
Bloodthirster and Serrated
tương đối ổn.
So very, very scary on this Draven indeed, and will now be joining his team for what shapes up to be a possible dragon fight. Nature's Grass coming out. Flash available here for Zhao Zhang. We'll see if it's connected on. Do get the flash away from him.
Va luôn.
Making him quite vulnerable now. But the ultimate gone for that Magi is definitely a big loss ahead of what could be an objective fight.
IE đang kiểm soát được con rồng thứ hai và lao vào đánh luôn rồi này. DCG gom R vào, đút cái lận sóng bầm. Xuất hồn về, xong đó đạt mệnh chạy đi. Ăn được rồng nhưng cái giá thì nó quá đắt. Một con rồng cái giá quá đắt. Sao xiên, tôi xong rồi. Sao xiên ơi, sao xiên, sao xiên, sao xiên, sao xiên. Ôi Shiba tốc biến R đủ không? Đủ đam rồi, nhưng nó sẽ là đổi mạng. Chasey tele xuống thì cũng ngay lập tức bị kẹt lại mà thôi. Đổi búa san chỉ thiên lôi phạt đánh thường EQ cắt kill ra điều, nhưng tất nhiên là sát thương sẽ là không đủ. 5-3 cho DCG. Khó luôn bro.
This was just a crazy flank from Chelsea. Just complete. Look at the damage, my lord, onto LJW.
Khó.
Oh, he catches 3 with the command shockwave to boot. Almost picturesque as the Ocean Soul takes over the rift, and a great route off the vertical from Austerity.
Austerity maybe ulting the wrong direction here. Yeah. Really costing him. Yeah. Ults towards Florin.
I think I understand maybe trying to get the root off to mean that Florin can't come in and follow up, but unfortunately just not quite there in LJW.
Cái tham 30 sáng không?
Oh, so close.
Hên xui. Hên tôi nghĩ là không. Ván này nó lại giống ván trước một chiều thôi. Cứ đánh tới 15 phút là thành một chiều. Anh em thấy không? 3 game đúng một điểm chung duy nhất là tới 15 phút nó trở thành một game đấu một chiều. Cứ tới 15 phút là một chiều. Cứ tới 15 phút là một chiều. Ván này nó cũng không là ngoại lệ luôn. Không là ngoại lệ tí nào.
The Chiefs have to be watching this kind of worried because this DCG lineup looks very, very scary.
The only thing is, I think Slater's looking at this and saying, all right, bet, let's go. I think he's very keen for a bit of a scrap tomorrow. He is not one to shy away from a confrontation in that bot lane. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see DCG looking to implement that lane swap tactic into the top lane against someone like Bio.
One thing I'm interested to see is it's been a very long time since the Chiefs last played a on-stage game of League of Legends. And when they last did, the whole AD carry going top early was not really a thing.
No.
Right? We did see it once out of Biddy, and that's it. So I wonder if, you know, obviously they'll be scrimming and whatnot. But I wonder if they have a...
Mấy thằng WC là bên Philippines mà. Tao mà ăn được mấy thằng bên PCS. PCS là nó của Đài Loan. Đài Loan thì nó gần với Trung Quốc hơn. Gần với Trung Quốc thì trình độ nó cao hơn nhiều. Nhưng mà để so với mấy thằng WC thì còn xa quá. Mấy thằng WC tuổi gì anh em?
Not running away quite as aggressively as they had at this point in the game, but still just a commanding hold on it.
Yeah, Fing and 665 extremely accelerated. First time now coming through for LJW, and that Yomu's Ghost Blade. So a bit of damage, but Fing with the Bloodthirst first is going to be able to heal up from that poke relatively well. Items actually matched in terms of 2 for 2 in the AD carry role, but it is Fing, again, who most likely could recall for at least finishing up those boots, if not some more components on top.
Ooh, fancy feet.
Đánh căng vậy. Kiểu bọn DCG nó đánh khá là áp lực nha. Tứ giả đặt luôn khu vực đường giữa. 17 phút thi đấu trôi qua. Mặc dù là không có nhiều mạng nhưng mà ván này thì lại hơn rất là nhiều tiền. 5k vàng. Cái đàn đoạt mệnh vào nhưng Sisui kịp tốc biến né. Rút hồn về nhưng không đủ đam. Tứ giả chưa lấy được trụ. Ôi, mỏ neo thành công. Thủy lô tần nhiệt ghim vào đánh luôn. Sau đó thì tốc biến chạy ra ngoài, Jack cũng lao vào, choán được 2 cùng với lần sóng mầm. Trời ơi, hủy diệt hoàn toàn đội hình của IE. Triple kill dành cho fan nhưng rìu xoay anh ta hết rồi, rút lông rất nhiều sát thương. Authority gỡ được 1, hình như là gỡ được 2 luôn. Nhưng đó vẫn là chưa đủ để đưa đồng đội tới vinh quang. Vẫn là quá khó.
Honestly, moves, lands the hook onto the Draven. It felt like maybe there should be an avenue in there for Inferno Esports, but not a single point of damage touches him.
Ui giời ơi. Đồng 3 thì sao? Rồng còn một con thôi. Ván này pha vừa rồi con Draven ăn hơi bị nhiều mạng đấy nhá. Lát nữa anh em xem con nó về nó nổ liên tục như vậy, nó về nó búp thêm đồ, còn nó ném rìu này. Ván này choáng là rất đẹp. Kẹp thêm cái lận sóng âm và thêm chiêu cuối con Draven nữa. Dồn một phát thì triple kill có ngay lập tức dành cho Fenji. Cái pha này thì rút long em Tôm phải nói là quá đỉnh cao. 10 điểm. Draven 2 đồ hơn được kìa. Lát nữa lên thêm cái vô cực nữa, một rìu chí mạng của nó là nửa cây con Chasey hoặc là nửa cây con Seiya nhá. Nặng lắm rồi đấy. Đấy chưa, một rìu xoay chí mạng chết luôn, có lính đánh gần luôn kìa. Là một cái rìu xoay của nó nằm đâu đấy khoảng 600 đam. 600-700 đam nếu như mà chí mạng đấy. Khủng khiếp.
Oh man, I really hope Austerity somehow carries this game. Yeah, it would be so exciting to watch, and it would feel so rewarding for a player who has been so good.
Absolutely. Easily the best player this tournament outside of DCG.
I'm inclined to agree. Arcan now on the rift could be an avenue. If ever there's an objective, it is going to be started by DCG. Now Fing does have the life steal. Yeah, they're just going to give it. Very hard to walk in, unfortunately, with no semblance of control down on this bottom side of the river.
Yeah. Oh, and it's going to be Locket again. Starting to hit the moves.
Ở đây chắc hết cứu. Ăn xong Atakhan nữa thì hết gỡ rồi anh em. Game này không biết đánh nổi ra tài kill hay không. Em Tô bắt game này tài kill 37 lận. Mà bây giờ đánh có 14 mạng, sợ tài kill không về rồi anh em ơi. Em Tô nghĩ là tài kill không về nổi rồi.
They want an angle on the Fang, but here comes 665.
Not going to have the confidence to just straight run at Austerity, but does put down the pillars. Going to take a lot of damage. Drops the subjugate.
Rồi vào chơi luôn. Ôi chết mẹ rồi con Draven. À không sao, nó không ném rìu lại chết luôn cơ. Sau đó thì tiếp tục ném rìu và con Nautilus và nó ném 2 phát, Nautilus lại lên bản nữa rồi. Thật sự là sát thương của con Draven không thể nào nhờn được. Má nó ném đầu điên. Nó ném đam to khủng khiếp. Lấy thêm được trụ 2 đường giữa nữa. Đến từ DCG. Ui dồi, má nó ném đều. Ui ôi. Quăn R ra tốc biến lao lên, nhưng đó sẽ là một tình huống nằm xuống đến từ Fenji. Cao xiên tới. Nó sẽ là mạng gỡ lại. Liên tục đánh nhau và liên tục đổi mạng như vậy là em Tôm rất thích nha. Cứ đổ nhiều vào cho em Tôm lấy cái tài kill đi. Tài kill em Tôm trôi xa lắm rồi. Xem lại tình huống vừa rồi. Màu cài nó vào thì mẹ Raven nó phóng rìu đao khủng khiếp anh em ạ. Cái rìu xoay của nó tăng thêm sát thương, nó ném đau quá. Ôi rồi ôi, thôi xong rồi. Pha này solo kill. Pha này solo kill trên top. Đổi mẹ lấy trụ anh em ạ. Lời.
Austerity playing about as well as you could ever dream. Dodges away from one of those axes, and with the help of LJW, even the lethal tempo actually finishing the job off. And sure, LJW dies, but it's always worth it because Austerity picks himself up an extra 700 gold. Moves back to life. Oh, dearie me.
Lại bị bắt lẻ nữa rồi. Bên này thì Bonnet Bay cũng đi theo luôn. 14-6. Không, bây giờ là 15-6. Cắt cái trừ khoản đâu đấy là bao nhiêu mạng nhỉ? 5 mạng. Của em Tôm là trừ 13.5. Thì là cắt 5 mạng anh em nhé. Silet bị bắt như này nữa rồi. Đạt mệnh không chạy về được. Q3 lướt về thì ăn ngay cột băng. Thêm cả sức hút kinh hoàn nữa. Q3 vào chơi luôn. Đủ đam không? Túc biến quy đấp và có vẻ như là đổi được mẹ. Đủ đam đổi mẹ. Kéo thêm tài kill. Rất tuyệt vời. Ôi thôi xong rồi. Quả này sao nữa đây? Tele xuống đánh rồng. Ui ơi, lốc xoáy tử vong. Tấu 6 năm tới. Cột băng làm chậm xây ra. Thủy lôi tầm nhiệt thì ghim vào vị trí của sao xiên. Vẫn đang đuổi theo. Benji bọc sang phía bên trái. Không có góc vào. 17-7 rồi. Còn 4 mạng nữa. Cặp này căn bản là nó khó quá anh em ạ. Nó khó quá. Mấy thằng Philippines vào mấy cái giải như này nó chỉ biết là bán độ để kiếm thêm tiền thôi. Clear kèo trừ để kiếm thêm tiền. Chứ em Tôm cũng không thấy là nó làm được gì hết anh em à. Em Tôm cũng không thấy là nó làm được cái gì hay ho hết. Nó chỉ tới vậy là hết rồi anh em. Bây giờ là Baron. Baron thành công.
Trying to get some objectives for themselves, but the Baron recalls, there's no hope in that. Recalls will be coming through now for the side of Inferno Esports. As Infinity Edge has been finished off now for Austerity. Massive chunk of damage. And a big upgrade to his DPS if he's able to have that uptime. Not the easiest against the likes of the Orianna.
What a reminder has also been picked up. So we'll have to see.
IE là Philippines nha anh Xuân Trường ơi. Cái này là sức hút kinh hoàn, xuyên tập kích. Ơi chúng ba. AD của IE. Ui cái gì đây? Số này ơi, thôi chết mẹ là rồi. Nó mà chết là endgame anh em ơi, nó chết là endgame, nó chết rồi, nó chết là endgame rồi. Mà chưa đủ mạng, thêm một kill nữa. Một kill nữa mới được. Thằng Bonnet Way nó phải ra, nó fit thêm một mạng nữa thì mới về được kill. Nhưng mà nó ở trong nhà luôn rồi anh em ơi, nó không đi fit à. Nó xếp mạng rồi. Đắp ra nào. Đây rồi, đắp ra. Ơi già, không được rồi anh em ơi, chết kill rồi. Gap có 13 mạng thôi anh em ơi. Đái anh em ạ. Ván cuối thì em Tôm toàn rồi. Trừ 3.5 toàn gần em. Má em tôm đợi nó xuống trừ 3.5 chơi cho chắc mà thua 0.5 mẹ. Nhót vãi nồi. Thôi chào khán giả đi về thôi. Về nước thôi. Còn một thằng sống, còn 4 thằng, 5 thằng chứ. 5 thằng sống. Còn 5 thằng, nếu mà tính tổng 2 team luôn là 5 thằng.
Really proving his worth throughout the duration of his stay here.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I want to see someone take notice of that performance because it was truly impressive what Austerity was able to do, and I think there is definitely room for a bot lane like him. Not necessarily in the LCP just yet, but
bên thằng IE ấy thì là một thằng. Bên trái thì là 4 thằng còn sống. Bên team xanh ấy thì 4 thằng còn sống, còn bên team bên phải thì là ở đâu 6 thằng mà. Khúc cuối, khúc nhà chính nó vừa mới bể thì con support nó hồi sinh này. Không biết là nó có tính không nha. Support nó hồi sinh này, đem tôm tu lại cho xem này. Nhìn kỹ nha, nhà chính chưa nổ thì con support nó hồi sinh này. Đấy, thấy chưa? Con support nó hồi sinh này. Thì không biết là nó có tính không. 6 bạn. Hôm nay kết thúc rồi anh em ơi, giải đấu hôm nay kết thúc rồi. Em Tôm xin phép là off stream thôi. Anh em nào vào nhóm tham khảo kèo của em Tôm thì em Tôm để cái link nhóm dưới phần bình luận nha anh em nhé. Anh em cứ tham gia qua cái đường link em Tôm ghi ở dưới bình luận. Và nhóm thì là nhóm miễn phí anh em à. Còn hôm nay thì hết giải rồi. Hẹn gặp anh em vào cũng là khung giờ này vào ngày mai thôi anh em ơi. Bây giờ thì xin chào tạm biệt và hẹn anh em vào ngày mai nha anh em nhớ. Bây giờ em Tôm xin phép là off stream đây. Bye bye anh em.
Switch, all right. Looked like it was going to be Florida gets the MVP, but then it cuts over to Fing.
It's always going to be Fing.
11 KD, up 4,000 gold, 30% of the team's damage, and 3 out of 4 kills he was involved in.
Yeah. I mean, he was menacing on the ref. So were all of DCG, realistically. There's no one person you could point to and be like, okay, he performed poorly. Everyone just absolutely popped on. I mean, okay, Florin dying solo to Zaya probably shouldn't happen. But outside of that, very few mistakes being made.
Yeah, absolutely. You really just cannot fault a single member of this DCG team at all, the way that they approached the game, both yesterday and today even. And it bodes a terrifying prospect for Oceanic League of Legends fans and what tomorrow might bring.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the uniforms too, it's base blue with black on the background versus base black with blue on the background, and DCG versus Chiefs. And this is how the game started off. It was a great solo kill found from Austerity and a great game. The entirety of it for Austerity. I mean, just even here, gets the last little double daggers, gets the last auto attack. I think here he was like panned to the mid lane or something. Yeah. He just completely missed the fact that Chelsea goes in.
Yeah, it drops the water on his face as well. Well, I mean, every element of this DCG roster is performing so very, very well. And the fact that the weakest point that you could identify out of that series is Florin gets caught in a lane swap situation and then still comes back and has a monstrous game for himself on this Jax.
Yeah.
It's so integral.
Austerity, man, trying to get it done. The LJW teleports were a little problematic here in game 3, but
he was keen. He wanted it. And yeah, I mean, Nature's Grass lands on a thing here, but there's just no one in vicinity to actually collapse in.
And while, I mean, hindsight 2020, you probably just need to drop that Nautilus ult on Chelsea, secure the kill at least. Redemption still can come through for the team, but it means that here, you wouldn't have had the ultimate, and admittedly the ultimate doesn't really do all that much. It finds a 3-man knockup, but there's no follow-up damage coming through from Inferno Esports, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they were literally just that scared of the command shockwave setup that they just completely